Here we're going well. It's a Sunday. It's 2 p.m. and this is, of course, Ireland's most popular Sunday service outside of Mass. Welcome to the Sunday service. Let me know that everybody can hear me first of all, because the audio is perfect on my end, but then everything is always perfect on my end, because this is an amazing show with very high quality audience and presenters. So thank you for joining me again today on the Sunday service. It has been a whole week since I've been here, and what a week it's been. We have a new government. We have lockdown ending tomorrow. Loads of you going back to work proper tomorrow. Hopefully that all works out for everybody. I hope you're all having a great day, because today has been absolutely miserable weather. There's a hole in my roof and it's letting in water. It is actually, there's a lead bit across the roof. There's a great group of guys going to come out tomorrow morning to fix that, thankfully, but it is leaking and it's quite a worry because it's really raining, like there's lots of rain coming down, so I don't really want to get flooded out during the night, but we'll see. Of course, our title, this is never clickbait on this channel. We do not do clickbait here, but our title today is the Green Party Minister has now become, the Green Party leader, should I say, has become the Minister for Transport. And of course he has other tasks besides transport, one of them being climate, which probably does suit him pretty well. Not sure how much he knows about transport, because the Minister for Transport isn't just about tax and cars, of course. The Minister for Transport is over things like trucking and buses and public transport, trains, everything, transport in general. So absolutely mad group of things to be doing. We've already got an apprentice mechanic. Gert Beaky has become an apprentice mechanic on the system here, where you can just join up and become a member of the group. We get little text message stuff from behind. I'll go through some of the people who are here already. Avenzis came on at 12:15 to say who's cleaning Renna McGann. How'd you get on with that? Alan Burke, stinking weather. Stinking is a good description for today's weather. It is stinking a bit. It's hot. Ireland's a bit weird. We walked out of what shop were we in yesterday? I can't remember. I think it was Penny's. We went to Penny's yesterday in Newbridge, I think. Basically, nobody had masks on apart from us. And people kept staring at me because I had one of the blue masks on, a purple one. But I needed t-shirts and trousers and stuff. They're gone. They just wore out everything I owned. But we came walking out of Penny's, lovely air-conditioned Penny's, out onto the street. And that soup that happens in Ireland, the warm soup that comes at you, that humidity and heat that hits you, is there again today. So it's quite warm today, but it's raining outside and kind of miserable. Smurf was here. Robert Van Sant, never mind EVs. Did you see VW Arteon? I did a video for it. Nobody watched it. VW, thank you very much for having an embargo that lifted at 11 o'clock at night in Ireland, 12 o'clock in Germany. So absolutely nobody saw the video that I put up for the VW Arteon. Because it just was in the stream of everybody going to bed. Why would you do an embargo at that time? But if you don't put it up the right time, if you put it up the next morning, nobody's going to watch it either because everybody's seen it. So they made an absolute hames of that. Just absolutely annoyed the hell out of me to do that one. Smurf2106 says, if Eamon Ryan gets Minister for Transport, then we're all doomed for more taxis. He is the Minister for Transport now. He's it. That's it. We're in it. The Green Party is now the Minister for Transport. We'll see. That fella isn't living in the real world, and with middle class, I mean, even more bells because of him. So the problem I foresee, there's two major problems with our current government. It's not just the Minister for Transport. One of them is that every minister who is now on the front bench comes from the east side of the country and doesn't represent anyone. One of the TDs held up, or one of the senators held up a brilliant map that showed where every government minister had come from. And so we're back to being this very Dublin-centric country when there's a huge amount of population outside of Dublin that feeds it all the time, right? So 17,000 people a day leave Laois to go to work in another county. The vast majority of that head east to Kildare or Carlow or Dublin. I did it myself for a year. I worked in the Indo for a year, and I had to leave here, Portlaoise, every single day and drive the kind of 1.5 to 2 hours run up to Foley Street in Dublin pretty much every day. And when I wasn't on a plane, that was. But that I think is a big problem. And the second problem is four women out of all the women who were elected this year, only 4 of them were good enough to be on the front page. And I see the Irish Times going, this morning, well, we elected, 9 women have gone into being senators. What about the people who actually make the rules and regulations in the ministries? I find it really annoying that they're, again, that's the topic of conversation. That not only is all the ministers come from the east side of the country, so don't care about Cork or Galway or Midlands or Athlone or Laois or anywhere, but also only 4 of them are women. 4, that's it. And one of them women managed to get, what did she get? I can't remember. She got so many things. I saw it last night, the hole in the bog, and the bog, and the hole in the bog, down in the valley. I was listening on Twitter last night because she got so many different ministries in one shot. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just, I think it's too much for one person. She's like Gael talk, communication, media, and all sorts of other jokes. Noel Davison, hi Bob, dying to hear how you got on with the new Zoe. I think it's a fabulous car, irrespective of being electric. Hats off to Renault. Mercedes could learn a lot from charging speeds from them. So I have a Renault Zoe video made. The Zoe's gone back. I'm in a Renault Capture at the moment, which the Capture feels like dial-up and the Zoe feels like broadband. The first affordable electric car I've driven that I would actually desire to own as a car, because it makes so much sense. It's generally affordable. Now, it's still expensive, right? You could still buy a Clio for a hell of a lot less than a Zoe. But the big but here is you only pay for what you want with a Zoe. So you get, as standard, 22 kilowatt charging, right? So if you pull up to the slower, what would be termed slower chargers, not fast chargers, the ordinary on-street chargers, you can charge much faster than a Mercedes EQC, right? Which is going to charge for hours and hours and hours because it only charges at 5 to 7 kilowatts or something. Whereas the Zoe charges a full 22. So you can go to Galway, plug in, go to the cinema, watch a movie, get some popcorn, come out, and your car is full on a 22 kilowatt for free. If you want, you can spec a fast charger in it as well, which I think does 100 kilowatts. I might be wrong on that one. No, maybe it might be more or less, but I think it's the 100 kilowatt is the max speed it can charge at anyway. But that's an option. Rather than them charging you more for stuff you may not ever use, that's an option. And in actual fact, I would buy probably the entry-level Zoe, use it as a daily commuter. I'd buy whatever the longest battery is they'll give me, and the 22 kilowatt charge. The only drawback I had is on day one, when I plugged in to charge, it makes a squealy noise, a weird squealy noise that just didn't go away. And then we did some work. I got the fellas around to have a look at the charge point on the wall, and we made sure it was okay and there was nothing wrong on our end. We plugged in again to the car and it was still squealing. So the car has a funny squeal. I see it all over the place. Thank you very much to Des Mulhare Electrical, for coming out like that instantly. As soon as I text him going, why is this thing squealing the whole time? It wasn't the charger, it was the car. I have tinnitus, and I've had it more or less my whole life. So I often don't hear those kind of bat sounds. I can hear bats, but I can't hear, there's certain squeals I can't hear. And I found it quite hard to hear it. So I had to record it on an audio so I could actually hear the bloody sound, what it sounded like. So it was a bit weird. And the FX7 is here as well. Eric Rochard, afternoon everybody. Blustery one out there today. It's blustery, rainy, windy. As long as it stops raining, there's my hole in my roof. And the FX7 says, the Arctic looked very stylish, as the presentation was too. All yours for 400 quid a month. Yeah, I know, but it still feels kind of weird because we have now such an acceleration towards electricity, but yet we don't have enough electric cars. It's very hard to get supply. We'll talk about supply and why that is now in a moment. Could not agree more. Rob Van Sant, especially like the shooting brake. The shooting brake Orline, boom, I would have it all day. Absolutely outstandingly pretty car. I'm sure it's actually going to look a little bit better in the metal. We'll be testing that this year. I've already made a representation to have it in. Tomorrow I'm picking up the new Land Rover Defender. Going to have a spin in that. And I'm also testing a Volkswagen, something with 300 brake horsepower. Can't remember what it is. Wolfhound 88 says, Eamon Ryan is the Transport Minister, the same man who said we should be sharing 30 cars between 300 homes. God help us. I also have a little thing here for the Green Party that hold on a second now, just make sure we have everything here before I go to this screen. Hopefully you can hear that. Can you hear that? What is the, I can't remember what the hell the audio input capture is. Let's make sure, because if I do this wrong, you're not going to be able to hear anything. from me instantly. I think it's that one there, somewhere there. Anyway, so back in just to reiterate, right? I'm not down on the Green Party particularly, right? But you have to understand that the Green Party have a certain agenda, like every other party have an agenda, right? Fianna Fáil tend to look after builders, developers, property, big property portfolios and banks and things, right? Fine Gael tend to look after people like banks or businesses, large businesses like Google or Facebook, those kind of places. The Green Party tend to look after, well, green interests, okay? So renewable resources, and I'm all up for that. I'm definitely up, and I think I voted Green this year as well. Anyway, but I'm definitely up for Green Party policy. I do like what they do, but what I'm scared of is often Green Party representation will make a jump because the information they have to hand is the best that they've got, and they go, yes, this is the best way to go, and they drive it down that route and then find out later that they have to back out of that again because it just wasn't right. And I have an example of this where they did it in Ireland, published in the Irish Examiner Friday, November the 6th 2009. There you go. That is by Claire O'Sullivan. Hopefully you can hear me when that's still going. I think you can. That's published by Claire O'Sullivan at the time, and in that you can see that the Green Party said a swing towards buying energy efficient diesel cars, that green policies do work. Now, I don't want to labour over the point, I don't want to slander over that. They apologised for that. They came back and they said they were wrong, they were sorry about it, and I get that. But what I'm worried about is now that they're Minister for Transport, which is a very broad spectrum thing, huge range of stuff. Shane Ross was a disaster for us in that position. So what I'm saying is that Shane Ross was a guy who isn't Green Party, should know what he's doing here with this sort of stuff, and didn't, and made a so bad of a haze of it that he didn't even get elected again. So now we have someone who has been in politics for a very, very, very long time under the Green Party, cycles to work. He's got I think he has a 9-seater bus or something that he uses as well. So what I'm worried about is that he makes a jump, a very quick jump, that's going to result in us losing something massive that they'll have to apologise for in 10 years' time. Right? So that's essentially, because that's what happened in 2009. They were in power then as well. And he wasn't even a Minister of Bleeding Transport. Byron's here. Oh, look at that. I got an email from myself that says live now, Sunday service. I wonder should I click that? That says live now, Sunday service. I should click that. I should go look at me 5 minutes ago. Byron says, after all, there will be big numbers today if everyone is in sheltering. Yes, there should be. Thousands. Click the like button. Click millions of like buttons. Please, everybody click the like button. Thanks very much. You can also support the channel in multiple ways down below in the comments. It'd be very kind if you did. I'd like to welcome all the new subscribers. We're just there now at 50,000. And I know I went on to Boards the other day and answered a pile of questions on Boards as well. Boards.ie, which I used to be hugely active on Boards.ie. Massively. I loved it. And then the admins or moderators or something made a balls of the whole thing, and everybody started. Then it diversified, and then Reddit appeared and other stuff. I didn't even create an account on most of these places then. But a thread was started about me on Boards, and I had to go and find my old username so I could log back in and answer all the questions, which I think I did. Yes, if you call me, I will be summoned somewhere, right? So if you tag me in things, I'll come and answer questions. I don't really mind criticism. It's okay. I'm quite insulated from these things. Bring back Shane Ross as Andy FX7. Are you mad? Shane Ross? No, thanks. Let him go and retire now wherever he was going. Eric Watcher says, RTN is gorgeous, but very niche. Blurs the line between practicality with superb and the style of an Audi. Most will go with Audi at that money. Speaking of which, we're arranging a twin test of myself and Mark Noble, Nobby on Cars. He's also got a YouTube channel. He's on 98 FM. Oh God, I hope that's right. But he's on the radio. And he, in the parlance of the modern American, he reached out and said he'd like to do a video with me. So we're arranging to do a twin test. My car that I'm bringing is the Skoda Superb PHEV. And it's going to be pitted against whatever he brings. That's going to be interesting. That's filming next month. Soon. A couple of weeks from now. We're going to film that. And you can see that here on the channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on both channels, because he's going to make his video, I'm going to make my video, and maybe the results will be different from each one. But we're already pitted against one another very quickly. Literally, when we said it the other day to each other, I got an email from Skoda going, I hear you're doing a twin test. I know, I'd like to be part of that twin test. Mark O'Reilly says, hello y'all, happy miserable wet Sunday. It is. Byron says, opinion, eggs, poached, scrambled or fried. Poached, God's own food. And I really do mean, if there was a God and we all worship something and God went, do you know what you should eat today? This is what it would be. Toast, if you can make your own sourdough toast, brilliant. If you can't, there's a lovely bread actually you get in Lidl called spelt honey bread. Little slices, nice things. If you don't like lots of carbs, I don't. That bread's nice. A ripe avocado spread over the top of it. Chili flakes and 2 poached eggs. And I'm happy. I would eat that every single day. But eggs for me, I'd eat eggs anyway all day long. So I don't really care. I make the best eggs of everything. Omelettes, poached, scrambled, fried, the whole lot. They're always perfect. Boiled is always good if you want to finish them up really quickly. Irish Foxhound says, afternoon Bob and everyone. From crazy days, even more crazier days, we are doomed. Well, we might be doomed. See, he'll still be hamstringed. So even if he wants to bring in huge big green policies, what happens is Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil will do what they always do with the Green Party. Throw them under a bus. That's what happens. When they do something wrong, the Fine Gael goes, it's their fault. And they walk away and wash their hands and off we go. It only took 9 years for Fianna Fáil to be back in charge again after completely crippling and decimating this entire economy. Blood on their hands from people committing suicide over losing their houses, their jobs, their income, their livelihood. You should never consider anything like that when it comes to money. Money is just money. It comes, it goes. You have it, you don't have it. Most people who have it still worry about something else. So don't worry about that part. But Fianna Fáil brought us to that point, and they have blood on their hands at that level, and 9 years later they're back in power like it never happened. Anyway, Footy Ferrari. Well, Bob, your thoughts on Micheál Martin as a new Taoiseach? Micheál Martin is actually, I've met him, I tweeted a photograph of that once upon a time down at the Ford event in Cork, and I found him to be a very affable chap and very easy to talk to, very easy to get on with. Now, as a Taoiseach, I'm not sure, but he has been primed for this his whole life. Bertie Ahern, he worked with him for a long time. Brian Cowan, he worked with him for a long time. He has been primed very carefully to be Taoiseach. He's going to do a job. Now, the problem is that you have this triptych effect of having 3 parties who are driving this conversation. So he won't be able to open his mouth without checking with Leo and, everybody else in the whole team before he says a word. So it's going to be a very strange time. I know it's very itchy. I mean, either I'm in a very aggressive humour or I'm going to have a row. The way in Ireland is, if you notice it, you're going to have a fight with somebody. I don't know who. John Casey. The greening of transport can only be a good thing, and I sincerely hope that I can travel the Limerick to Cork via motorway soon. You can't, because they've already cancelled that one. I don't mind going via the M8. That would be a solid halfway to Waterford. You can't. They cancelled those. They cancelled road infrastructure. It was actually Eamon Ryan who came out a few weeks back and said there'd be no further investment in the road network, that it would be diverted to public transport. Now, at the same time, if you flick from Portlaoise to Dublin, right? Now, we're kind of unique in Portlaoise because there's a train station here in Portlaoise that goes direct to Dublin, right? We also have good bus connections because we are in the centre of the country. So basically everything comes here at some point. Even the electricity, the grid, the entire grid runs, the connector runs right here through Portlaoise. But if I wanted to go, I'd regularly go to Sandyford to collect cars. Now, if I wanted to go to Sandyford to go to work, there is absolutely no way I'm going to make that. I was in Decathlon a few days back as well. I brought my kids. We had masks and everything on. We went to Decathlon. It was lovely, weird, kind of empty still. But how do you get to Decathlon on public transport? It's just not possible. And that's just Dublin. Once you start going the other way, you go to Limerick or you go to Cork, public transport becomes a real issue going the opposite direction. So we would have to divert every penny that comes in from cars into public transport to get back where we were 50 years ago. Which reminds me, actually, somebody tweeted the other night there on Twitter about looking at Sweden as to how they recycle bottles and do all that sort of stuff. Lads, when I was a kid, and a lot of you guys would be old enough to remember this as well, we used to bring back large bottles of Coke and any glass bottles to the pub, and you got 10 pence or 5 pence or 8 pence for each bottle, depending on the bottle. And this was normal, and our parents were the ones who were masters of reusing and buying something that would last for decades. They handed down stuff. My mother had a sideboard that belonged to her mother in the front room. You know, that was just normal. So it's consumerism has driven this environmental change, this idea that we have, you know, huge environmental change. It's actually consumerism. It's the amount of vehicles on the road and the amount of things we consume on a daily basis. Not just food. I'm talking about phones and lights and things you buy. You just go to the shop and buy without thinking about it. Good debate on the Facebook page already on this. Correct. I started a Facebook page. I put it up on Facebook. Our Facebook page is the Sunday Service Community on Facebook. You can join it should you wish. It is a private group, so you're allowed to say whatever you really want to say, as long as it's relatively on topic of some sort. Thoughts on the Hyundai i30 Fastback? I kind of like what Hyundai was doing. The Fastback is interesting enough, but it's not really that's not the direction we're going in. I think that's kind of like white goods. And in actual fact, a lot of people's cars are younger than their washing machine and their fridge, so it's very hard to say it's white goods now. But what I mean is, they're not a long-term investment. They're a nice car. If you like the look of it, go for it. If you get on PCP, it's going to be gone in 3 years anyway. So, yeah, I mean, it's no big deal to change your car in PCP in 3 years. It's absolutely lashing rain out there now, and my roof is leaking. Oh, this could be a long day. Byron says, out 2 minutes or 3 minutes from the house. The health portfolio moved 1.5 miles over the road. He'd be good at that job, as stated back in the former for you. The new health minister is, what do you call him? The red-haired lad who betrayed everybody and joined Fianna Fáil. And I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, it'll come back to me. Niall McHugh, I skipped forward there, sorry. 242 watching. I think that's right, because that thing sometimes just freezes there and hangs there for ages. So hopefully that is. Don't forget to click the like button. That'd be great if you could. We've only 79 likes and there's over 200 of you watching this very second, so hit the like button, please. Afternoon, Bob and everyone, says Niall McHugh. Thank you. Afternoon from a sunny but windy Bournemouth in the UK, says Mark Turner Smith. Don't worry, we're sending rain your way. It's fine. It's going that way. Mini Egg says, hi Bob, with Apple announcing you can now use an iPhone as your car key, do you think this manufacturers will rush to implement it? Already done. Volkswagen showed me once upon a time an app that can control, unlock and lock your car. That's definitely already happening. BMW have already announced that they're going to do it through the Apple system. I would be totally in favour of that, particularly when it comes to the Renault key, which is a great big card thing. It's a weird card. Where do you put that thing anyway? Give me a key, or give me something else small that you can put away. But yeah, I'd have no problem with them. I mean, I already use mobile for everything. Like Revolut is on it, your bank cards, your information, your details, every single thing. So I can't imagine, like, you do, that's Face ID or fingerprint is on most of the phones as well. So if the only reason you wouldn't do it is if you've got a really older phone, you got a phone that doesn't support those kind of Face ID or Face Unlock things or whatever it is. The only problem is right now with Face ID, you know, when you go up to use Revolut and you hold it up and it asks your face, you take the mask off to do the face thing. I think that's funny watching people do that. And I have to do it as well, but it's funny watching someone do it. But I have no problem with Apple, with the devices. The problem I do have is that Android is so much worse at specific apps than Apple is. I use both. I don't have the Android phone here now, but I use both. And like social media apps on Android are rubbish. Most of the time they're rubbish. Really hard to connect up stuff. But Apple, it just seems to seamlessly work because there's just so few phones. So I think that kind of thing will roll out in the Apple network much quicker than it will on Android. Eric Rocher said there's a next guest for the Sunday service. The new Minister of Transport would like to see Bob getting stuck in there. This is an open invitation to Eamon Ryan or a representative of Eamon Ryan to come on to the Sunday service and give your opinion about whatever you want to do in the transport sector. You'll be talking directly to people who are totally interested in that, to dealerships and so on. So it's an open invitation. If you know, or you can get in touch with someone who is attached to Eamon Ryan or the Transport Commissioner up there, get them in touch with me and they can fire away. Come on, we'll have it on Zoom here. We don't even have to leave your home to do it. I will do it right here, and you can sit here for 2 hours and answer questions from the general public all day long. I'm sure it'll be really interesting, actually. I will send a formal invitation, but just if you know somebody who's interested today. TS says, hi Bob, the 1.5 petrol engine is underpowered in a 3 Series. Bloody right it is. Did you see the new 2 Series Grand Coupe? That's the same as a Toyota Corolla. It really is. The more I look at it, the more I think it looks like a Corolla. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, it looks like a lot of cars, but it certainly doesn't look like a BMW. But yeah, 1.5, everybody's trying to get their CO2 emissions down. Everybody's trying to reach that 95 grams of CO2. BMW are very far behind because they don't have they have the i3, but they don't have the technology for batteries, and they're not producing enough of them. So they're struggling to get down to that 95 grams CO2. So they're releasing smaller engined cars to put out smaller CO2. And they're trying to stick in around at 95 without getting their fines. Hyundai and Kia have long since reached 95, so they've stopped producing the cars, which is why there's a stranglehold on the Hyundai and Kia range of electric cars. You can order them, but you'll be months waiting for them till the 95 grams moves. Alfa Romeo sold their CO2 points to Tesla, so Tesla is doing their thing. So it's a strange time, but certainly the 1.5 engine, if you're looking for that luxurious BMW feel, 1.5 TSI isn't good, or 1.5 petrol isn't going to do that for you. John Casey says a shout out for, I can never pronounce his name, is it Guglielmi? I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, I'm sorry if you're listening. And Scott, who are doing a 32 county driving challenge for charity next Friday in a Tesla Model S, just over 1,000 kilometers, and setting off at 6:30 a.m, hoping to do it by midnight. Easy peasy. 1,000 kilometers sounds like fun, actually. Of course it's for charity. It's brilliant, and I wish them the best of luck. I hope they make it. It'd be absolutely deadly if they do, and I hope they raise a fortune for whatever charity they're working from. But obviously it is, for me, I go against those kind of range testy things for journalists. You know, when a journalist gets a car and they go, oh, let's just drive to Cork, I can prove I can do it. I think it's nonsense most of the time, but for charity I'd be up for that. I'd certainly tag along in a Passat behind them, and I would never have to actually stop for 1,000 kilometers. I could just keep on going. I'd still have enough fuel to get home after that. They do about 1,200 kilometers on one shot in diesel. But then that would defeat the purpose. Eric Rochard can see and hear great. That's good. Alan Burke, hi Bob. What's your top car of the last 5 years? Volkswagen California. Jaguar I-Pace is very good. Range Rover Vogue just tops the poll. If I won the Euro Millions tomorrow, I would buy a Range Rover Vogue, but only if I won the Euro Millions. Wouldn't buy it if I couldn't. Camper vans. If you want something you want to hold on to forever, you buy something like a camper van. I love the Toyota Corolla, the kind of saloon or the estate one at the moment. It's just a nice all-round, everyday, simple car that would work forever. So, but I suppose the most fun I've had in cars has been things like the M3 or what else did we drive? RS3 Saloon, which is a great crack of a car. It was really good fun, but they're great fun cars. Model 3 has been good. Model S was really good to drive in a straight line, not great on corners, but then that happens. Dermot Watts says hi all, that's good man. Mick Mulcahy's here as well. Byron says, he's answering someone else there. Brad O'Donnell is here as well. It's great to get little coloured names and you get a little logo behind you when you're a member, which is deadly. That's really good. It makes it much easier for me to see what I'm looking at, because I couldn't tell who was a member, who isn't on Patreon, obviously. There is some kind of service you can pay for on Patreon to make it show you who's a patron, but that kind of defeats the purpose of Patreon, doesn't it? If you have to pay for things out of it. If you can support the channel, it'd be absolutely brilliant. There is already some supporters of the channel, which has been brilliant over the years, and one of them, of course, is Clearwater.ie. So here's a little run from. This video is proudly sponsored by Clearwater Technology, Ireland's market-leading water treatment chemical supplier. Now we're back. Just had to go to an ad break there for a second. Also found a video the other day of Burt Reynolds driving a Citroen. I might show it to you actually. If I can line it up, I'll show it to you. But it's a properly funny video. It's really good. I'm not sure I didn't get any messages there. I'm all right. That's good. You can support the channel on Patreon. You can support the channel on PayPal. PayPal link is down below. That'd be brilliant. If you could, it'd be great. You can also do super chats right here on YouTube, should you wish. It's always welcome and always goes on to equipment, which is probably lights now and a high definition camera and all the Sunday service stuff behind my head. Must change out those pictures actually back there. John Gerard says, with the Greens in government, does that mean there's no chance of the M20 getting built? The people of Munster have to put up with unsafe substandard roads between Cork and Limerick. Correct? No, there's no chance of that being built, according to Damon Ryan, who is now the Minister of Transport. Also, I would have to shout out for the guys in the Midlands here, because if you want to go from the biggest town in Laois, Portlaoise, where I live, to the biggest town in Offaly, which is Tullamore, where I used to live, you have to negotiate your way across bog roads. It is two of the biggest towns in the Midlands, possibly even two of the biggest towns in Ireland. There'll be large towns, like big populations, travelling back and forward, going to work. The roads are a disaster zone, and yet you have a motorway that skirts around to the north side of Tullamore that goes from Dublin to Galway, and you have a motorway that skirts right past the south side of Portlaoise, which goes from Dublin to Cork and Limerick. You could easily just join up a road between the two of them, but no, let's not join up that road. Let's leave them all on bog roads so people can get killed in head-on collisions in the middle of the evening when we're all trying to get home from work. Same applies, you want to go south from here to Carlow, you have to go across really, actually better roads, but still fairly ropey roads along the way. Irish Foxhound, that's some punk hair. I know I'm starting to get out of control. It really is. I can't do anything with it. It's just long now. It's just going that way. I'm going to get a haircut again, but it's been raining the past few days, so I haven't done it. I do my own hair. I have my own hair clipper things that I cut my own hair with. Ocean Froggy says, afternoon Bob, hope you had a steak for lunch and not salad. Worry about the greens. What did I have for lunch? I had a banana sandwich. We had shakshuka earlier on this morning as well. You can look up shakshuka, it's quite easy to make. It's beautiful, I'd say Middle Eastern dish. It's really good. We make it here quite regularly. Just some onions and garlic and peppers, a few eggs, a bit of passata, put it together, a few spices thrown on top of that, make it as spicy as you want, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You would lick it from the frying pan all night long. But shakshuka it's called. I think I pronounced that wrong. Sorry if you're from the Middle East and I'm mangling that word, but do I know that? Mini eggs. I think the new electric Mini is interesting. Have that in a few weeks as well. Most manufacturers have prioritised range at expense of ride and handling, but I think the Mini are gambling. People don't need 200-mile range in a second car. But the price of the thing, it sounds good, but like the price of it, it's still Mini pricing. Like it's still a very small car with very limited range. So once your choices get limited, I have a problem with a car straight away, because a car, your natural progression of a car when you're young, when you're just starting out, is that instantaneous freedom. I still remember jumping into my own car for the first time at 17 years old, just after hanging up the phone from Quinn Insurance to go, I'm insured. Oh, that's great. Deadly. Dink. Into the car, started the engine, and took off. And like no sat nav, never really been much further than where was it, from Kildare, maybe over to Athy as a child with my father or whatever, but never really outside. My mother didn't own a car, so we didn't really go very far. So when I get into my own car, that ability to drive anywhere, total freedom, that was the thing. I could drive until there was no road left, then just turn around and come back the other way. It was an amazing thing. I actually lost my nerve. The first drive I ever had was over to Newbridge, and the second drive I had was down to Tullamore, but I never actually made it to Tullamore. I made it to Walsh's Island. I went, God, I don't know where I am. I'm going home. I didn't know. I had no map or nothing. It was terrible. Fistbag said, nice mohawk, Bob. It's called a bob hawk, and it runs the whole length of my head. I had no choice. It's just the way it's turned out. After I did a workout this morning with Joe Wicks again, and that's really good for you. It's really good. Clears the head, keeps the energy up as well. It's really good. Raymond Grace says, afternoon command, Mini eggs. I watched the RTON video with the new touchscreen. Climate is interesting in that they are obviously going to use it in the Golfs. I wonder what the other VAG users will use. That kind of sweepy touchscreen thing that's in it, I saw that in the Golf whenever the international launch was at a Golf a long time ago. It seems like years ago, but actually it was only earlier on this year, I think. And I also seen it in the ID3. That kind of slidey. It's touchscreen, but you can slide back and forward. It's actually an interesting way of doing touchscreen. Byron says the Minister for Surf and Turf is Offaly, Biffo. Is he though? Oh yeah, sure. It's Cowan, isn't it? It's Brian Cowan's brother, Barry Cowan. That's him. I met him as well. He's nice enough. Met him in Midlands 103 one day. We had a chat about cars. He seemed to know an awful lot more about cars than he did about agriculture. But it's good to have somebody from the Midlands or someone from the country as a Minister for Agriculture, right? I mean, that makes sense. If you think of it, like, there's no point in having a guy who lives and born in the city as the Minister for Agriculture. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I think the main problem that everybody seems to have is there's no minister who comes from Galway or comes from the West Coast or comes from the Gaeltacht. Any of that sort of stuff that really makes us intrinsically Irish is our language and our ability to. Now we have a female minister who's the Minister for Gaeltacht, but she has so many other responsibilities. It's kind of crazy how many ministries she has in one shot. Jerry Heary says, just after leaving the Marshes shopping centre in Dundalk, about 2% of people wearing masks. It's hard to believe how thick and stupid these dickheads are. You're dead right. And being honest with you, everybody thinks that it's all over, right? Everybody thinks the whole thing is ended. It hasn't. We bet the curve bit. That's fine. And the infection rate's gone down. But the more things we open up, the more chance that people will be coming in or going out of the country or coming around counties who still have COVID-19 and don't know they have it and transmit it, particularly indoors in compact spaces like shops. You may not be in there very long, but it's the compact nature of that infection being able to be left on clothing in front of you. Pennies yesterday said that the baskets were all sterilised and that it was hand sanitizer away, and I get it, that sounds good, but you still should wear a mask, because I'm not protecting me from you, you're protecting me from you. So you wear the mask and I wear the mask and nobody gets an infection. That's pretty straightforward. And it's really annoying when you go into a shop, any shop, and you see all the people walking around who are like COVID-19, they should be at home. They're old, they're not feeling well, they don't look well, they're coughing and spluttering. You're going, you just go home. You're mad even to come out without a mask. But anyway, you can't tell people, just protect yourself as best you can. I'm going to be wearing a mask whenever I go to shop because I think I need protection from COVID. I don't want it. I just don't want it. It would stop me working. I haven't got it this far and I don't want it now, thanks. And I certainly don't want to travel anywhere and then think I might be bringing it back with me. Even though I'm fairly strong and fit, I'm not too worried about my own physical. I think I could pretty much withstand. I reckon I could. I'm fairly fit and healthy, but I am an ex-smoker, and I'm getting older now, so I don't really want to be laid up for 2 weeks. Johnny Morris, cars are not the solution to our transport problems. The Greens are correct. We need much better public transport, especially trains, buses and cycle lanes. Just look at Amsterdam, Copenhagen. Can I stop you there now, Johnny Morris? Amsterdam and Copenhagen, I have been to both of those cities and they are absolutely phenomenal about their cycling lanes, about their public transport infrastructure. They're absolutely brilliant, but they have been like that for 100 years or more. In actual fact, the Dutch go way further back with cycling. They have always encouraged cycling. They've had cycle lanes. They've grown up with it. You see it when you go to the cafes, you go to the restaurants. You see hundreds of bikes all chained together and cycled up and checked and out, all done. Absolutely phenomenal. For us to get to that level is going to take us 50 years. To train, we can't even have a cycle lane without people driving in it and parking in it, and we've got them now. We can't even enforce it. It's a joke the way we approach laws and rules and regulations in this country. We have 2 cycle lanes on a Dublin road, up and down here in Portlaoise, right outside the prison and the hospital and all. It's starting to get used more often, and 99% of the time you will find a truck or a bus or something stopped in that cycle lane. And if we can't even enforce, when we've got the cycle lanes, we can't enforce the use of them, we have a lot of work to do to get anywhere next or near. We need to stop looking outside the country as to what everyone else is doing and start looking how we can do it here quickly. I'm very much in favour of looking at things like the way the tourist areas of France. Now, if you look at some of the tourist areas in that area, what they've done is put a subtle border down between the cycle lane and the road, which means you're cycling beside the main road, but there is no way that a car can get over that ramp to go in and park there or pull in on top of you. It's pretty straightforward, but that's where we need to start, not kind of aiming for Amsterdam, where I've driven around Amsterdam, Rotterdam. I've driven all those cities up around Holland. There are many car launches have been happening around there. And you see the cycle lane is wider than the bleeding road. Like, you just regularly see these massive cycle lanes. And on the flip side of that, you also see in a cycle lane scooters. So sitting at traffic lights, a queue of cyclists, and among them is little scooters. I mean, petrol-powered scooters, because they look like bikes. So it can be just as dangerous there too. Ocean Froggy, Bob, if you had a chance to try the Peugeot 208e, looks even better than the Zoe. I've driven internationally. I do have it, I think, towards the end of next month. My calendar books up so quick because I can only drive so many cars per week. I'm too far away from Dublin, 1, and 2, I make videos. They take longer. Like, I could drive 5 cars a week and write articles. Easy. Articles are easy and disposable nearly. Videos are much harder to make. But I have driven a 208e. It was a gorgeous car to drive internationally. I had a lovely time with it. It looks good here in this country as well. Again, another kind of a shorter range car, but it does look a bit fun. As I said last year, I really encouraged everybody to wait for electric cars for this year. Now, COVID-19 has kind of interrupted the year, but wait until next year, because real car companies are making real cars electric, which means that Peugeot, who is a very, very Peugeot, a very old car company making electric cars, are going to make it a good car first, and then they're going to make it electric as well. Same for Volkswagen, same for Audi and Skoda and Seat and Citroen and Renault. These are all real car companies. They know how to be a car. They know how to make good cars. Now they're going to make something interesting and decent. So hopefully if you hang about for them. Peugeot PR is brilliant. They've changed the whole Gowron system has changed. There's some new ladies who are working in the PR part. Have moved around a bit, so things have changed a little bit. They don't have many cars. They've stuff that's been stuck here and there, and they can't get stuff out quick enough, and people will be booked in early and they got to go on the car. So it's kind of the start at the moment. The car looks good, but I would still tell you now, wait until January or December this year, because that's when more and more choice will be on the market. You can really make logical choice, and if you pin them to the collar. I mean, right now I did a search this morning for Renault Zoe second hand. Like, I won't mention particular websites, but I did a second hand review or second hand search for Renault Zoe. I did a second hand search for Nissan Leaf. There is no cheap ones, none. There's nothing affordable really. Sub $5,000, and you run aground immediately. If you get up to 8 or 9 or 10, yeah, fine. But if you look up 8 or 9, 10 grand cars, there is such a selection of petrol or diesel powered cars out there that you could have that are really decent cars. And I know you're going to save money electrically, but the electric cars still are too expensive, even second hand, because there's a massive pull for them. So the price has gone up. Johnny Morris says, even New York and London this way, more bikes on the road, more room for cars, everyone's happy. Again, you're pointing at cities that have had 10, 15 years of push towards cycle lanes. I've cycled in London, and I can tell you it's not that nice. It really isn't. You would get under the wheels of a bus in a blink of an eye in London. It's not nice there. I have not cycled in New York City. But if you drive in New York City, you're insane. It's an insane place to drive. It makes no sense. It's so slow. It takes so long to go anywhere in New York City. You're at nothing. You might as well walk. Do a Casey Neistat. Get an electric skateboard and use that. Much better. But we need to look at Irish problems, Irish solutions. It's great to take input from other countries, but to aspire for Amsterdam is 100 years away. I think 50 to 100 years before we would gain enough traction for cycle lanes to be used here in Ireland. Why don't we have a cycle lane that follows the N7? Why don't we have that? I mean, just think logically for a second. Naas and Dublin is 25 kilometres apart. I regularly see cyclists on the N7 in the hard shoulder trying to negotiate, N7 3 lanes across, trying to negotiate through the junctions and get their way along without being mowed down under the wheels of something massive. Why don't we have a cycle lane? Why don't we have a dedicated in the fields cycle lane running along parallel to the N7 along the way? Just immediately take a multitude of cars off the road, because a lot of those people who drive up don't want to drive, but there's no other good way up there for them. Peter, you cards here. Good man, thank you. The Butcher says, let me know, Bob, you need that DC2 Integra book. I got that message. The Integra book, I saw that. I'm making a video about Honda and Honda performance cars and things in the middle of it, and I need an Integra. So if you know somebody looking who has an Integra here in Ireland, I need one. I don't need it for very long, a couple hours, and I won't break it. I actually need it really static. I just need that. But yes, we'll get that book off you as well, or at least some screenshots of that book. It doesn't matter if it's in Japanese, but it'd be great to have it. Andrew Wallace, hi Bob, I would upgrade my car now, wait 3 to 6 months tank. Wait 3 to 6 months, don't go mad. Unless you're going to buy petrol, diesel or something. If you're going to, it depends what level of upgrade you're going to. But if you're even considering electric, wait for ID3. Wait for the market to start getting level. The problem is the market for electric is here now. The market petrol diesel is here. So petrol and diesel looks really affordable versus electric because there isn't that many electrics, and even the ones that are there have short supply on them. So because there's so few of them, your choices are limited, which means the price is still high. Now we have Zoe, which now looks affordable versus the rest of them, and the range is right, and people are starting to look at that. And I know I got asked a lot of questions about Zoe over the last while, because it makes so much sense. It's an actual car. It's got a big boot. It's got a decent back seat. You fit 4 people in. It's a good family runabout, and it charges at 22 kilowatts anywhere, on every street corner, and anywhere you want to charge. So as long as you're able to charge, as long as the charger is capable of 22 kilowatts, you can charge up in 2.5 hours. It makes sense as a car, and yet it doesn't have all the tech that you want. So it's a bit of a compromise car. It's still much more expensive than a Clio, so I would still wait until December this year, moving into January, when I know that the ID3 will be out. I know Skoda will have made their move with their electric cars as well. Seat will have the Elborn coming. Peugeot and Citroen, they will all settle into their realm of what cars they're going to sell, how many they're going to have. Kia is going to continue pushing along with Hyundai and their electric front. So we will just have more choice, and that choice will allow you to make a good, rational choice based on price, your needs, how long you got, PCP, the valuation, all these other things will come out in the end. I don't really talk about range or something. It's more about needs. One of my favourite cars of all time is the Skoda Citigo, which the range of that is probably 400 to 500 kilometers on a petrol tank, but it's still one of my favourite cars. Little 3-cylinder petrol engine, lovely little thing to drive around, looks well, goes well, don't really think about range. Johnny Dub, I'd love to see an option to insure and tax a car daily, weekly, monthly. You get a QR code sent to your phone, and the guard scan the roadside would eliminate all the middleman bullshit and paperwork. You're absolutely, I'd love that. I would love that for so many reasons. I look at a fella on Twitter, Connor Toomey's his name. He's the marketing manager for Mitsubishi Ireland. He's Irish. He's used to be the marketing manager for Fiat Alfa Romeo here in Ireland. And I see his little foible. So he buys a Mini, or he buys whatever it is he's after buying, and he takes it home and he sands it down, he messes around, he takes out the seats and does stuff. To do that in Ireland, you can. But if you want to just bring it out for a spin to see if everything's okay, you have to transfer insurance to it for a year, and you have to get this other insurance policy done. You have to tax the thing before you touch the road with it. If it's not going to be on the road, you tell the guards before that it's going to be off the road. So you have to say it's going to be off the road for a year. Right, it's off the road. It's just so much paperwork and hassle for a single car that what's going to happen is your classic cars are going to be killed by these laws and rules and regulations. People just won't want to deal with them because it's too much hassle and paperwork. So I would love that, Johnny Dub, if we could get to a point where you could have like a daily rate for insurance, or a weekly or monthly or whatever, or even have one policy covering multiple cars. That'd be good as well. We don't even have that. Let's be honest with you. Rob Cousins, the Arteon shooting brake R will eat into the Audi S4 Avant surely. You are 20k cheaper probably, and the Audi S4 is a diesel 6-pot. Sounds inferior. It does actually, yeah. Yes, Arteon will. I think Audi's going to go the route of electric. I think Volkswagen will go the route of electric as well eventually. And I don't mean that they'll go the route. I think these cars will be the last ones of these breeds we will see coming out. So I think they don't care who they're going to go up against. Mick Daly, I heard a rumour that lettuce head Ryan wants to tear up some roads and plant lettuce fields to make salads. That sounds good. Unfortunately, Eamon Ryan, he probably isn't the best trained in front of cameras, I would suggest. He tends to just talk off the top of his head, and he just kind of says things out of the blue. I still remember that wolf comment. He wants to reintroduce wolves, which I suppose probably wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, but tell that to Biddy down the road who has a little Jack Russell in her backyard hanging out washing some night, and the wolves come and kill the dog, right? So that's totally possible. But he just said it, and I remember there was a woman standing beside him in the shot, and she just kind of went, "Oh my God, he's talking about wolves on RTE." You know, it's like a national network. Did you have to mention wolves? Everybody's going to talk about wolves from now on, and it's true. That's exactly what I did. I picked on the wolves thing. Wolfhound 88. I think that agreeing to this PFG will be the end of the Green Party. They'll get thrown under the bus again. That's what happened the last time, 2009. They got thrown under the bus by Fianna Fáil. This time they'll probably get thrown under the bus again by someone, for sure. That's going to happen again, because they just can't seem to settle down into that anywhere. John Coleman, thank you very much for sending some money by PayPal. You're very good. I'm glad to have you aboard. It's really good now. Also a supporter of this channel for the last while has been Carago, who has looked after the video end of what you see, the Zoom calls and the bits that we're doing around the edge. So if you need to get in touch with them, get in touch with Carago. Here is a little run of theirs. If you want to do what I do and broadcast to thousands, or even run it through a small business that has over 10 employees, then you need to get in touch with Carago, the Zoom specialist for Ireland. There's a link in the comments down below. Bloody hell, I was right in the middle of a coffee there. I don't get ad breaks normally. Anyway, that's the ad break for that. VU Bears here. Afternoon, Bob. Thank you. William Byrne. Hello, Bob. Tony S. Bob, I'm looking forward to your review of the Defender. I'm looking forward for a drive of the Defender, actually, in fairness to it. We didn't get to drive the thing. We went to see it at a show. I actually met Marek Drives at the show while I was there. We took a selfie, myself and Marek. But I didn't get to drive the car between that show and now because of this. COVID-19 lockdown. We couldn't go and do anything, so I couldn't drive it. So my first drive of the car will be tomorrow. So if you see a great big Land Rover driving around the place with a man going, "Hello, poor person," that's me. Brian O'Donnell, who is a member of our beautiful membership club. Thank you very much, Brian. Eamon Ryan of the Green Cabbages. I like the way this is going already. It's going to be worse than Shane Ross. That would be hard to be worse than Shane Ross. Greens are in Lululand. The M20 won't be built now or anything. Big city trains and buses work, but not out in the middle of the country. I would suggest you're probably right. I've travelled, fortunately. I don't take it for granted. It's an amazing job I have. But I have travelled vast distances in Europe on trains, planes and automobiles, right? And the one thing you find is the joined up thinking of European countries, right? This is something we don't do very well in this country. So I could take a train from here to Belfast, Conley Station, Belfast. Now I've crossed an international border there, so I've entered the UK by crossing over. Not that you'd notice when you're on the train. There was a time they used to stop the train and search it with guard dogs. That's what used to happen. Now they don't. But if you do that in Spain, so if you take a train from, and I did this, I went from Madrid to Paris, I think it was, overnight on a train. You go to the train station, pay your money, go, "Paris, please," and they give you a ticket, and you get on the train, and they tell you you have to get off at this station and change to that thing. Or the one that I had was a sort of a direct one. It went up to somewhere in the border and then flicked over into Paris. A high-speed train, they had it all sorted out. This is not difficult stuff to work out, but it seems in this country we have no trains going to Donegal. We have limited trains going over to Galway. If I, on this, from here in Portlaoise, want to go to Galway, I have to go over to Portarlington to get a train to Galway, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And the price of a train in Ireland is insane. So unless the price comes down and the range goes up where you can go, it's much cheaper for me to drive to Limerick than take a train. Much cheaper. By diesel. Or even electric or anything. It doesn't matter. It's only an hour from here. But I get a train to Limerick Junction there and it's, 40 something quid? I could drive there for a tenner. For sure. Mark Turner Smith says, "Interesting, Green Party will never really gain enough in the UK to ever gain much power in Parliament. It is more to do with Irish voting system, not familiar, versus UK system." Brian O'Donnell says, "Never will look at national broadband farce." National broadband, that is something that's happened here in Ireland. We've been consistently trying to get broadband all over the country, as much of it as we possibly can. We've invested money in some wired version, we've done wireless, we've done satellite, we've done this, we've done that. None of it's worked. We had a man I know who's Andrew Shaw is his name. He runs Shaw's nationwide, Shaw's stores. He's a Portlaoise guy. Head office is here in the town. He was closed down, and over the time he was off, he had no broadband in his house, and he couldn't get it anywhere. He rang everybody. Nobody would deliver broadband to his location, so he was working off a mobile phone, and they had to share it in the house as himself and his wife worked. And it was an absolute mess. But sure, it's the Irish way, isn't it though? Mark Brown, but I mean, we live on a bleeding island. It's a small little island. It can't be that hard to run cables around. Mark Brown, Bob, my wife would like to know if you've heard of Hoka runners. Any good? Yes, I have. Excellent set of runners, but they are a little bit pricey. Hoka ones, or Hoka 1 I think is the one. Paddy Common bought them, and I absolutely adore them. But I've had a set of Hoka before. My favourite are New Balance. A New Balance Pursuit runner, I think it's called, because they give a decent flex, but they don't last very long. The cushioning in them compresses pretty often if you run a lot and you're heavy like me. But Hoka makes some really good Ranger runners. Not the cheapest ones, but definitely worth investing. Don't worry about getting your gait analysis or anything else done. You could buy a pair of runners in pennies, right, for a tenner, and run for a week and realize you hate running and you never want to run again your entire life, or you love running, and then you go and investigate what runners suit you. You kind of have to, when you're starting to run, you have to kind of learn to run. And I know you may think you know how to run, but it actually takes a few weeks to settle into how you run efficiently is not natural. It's not something you just walk out and go, oh, look at me, I can run for 5k. It's not. It's very hard to run. But yeah, Hoka make really good runners. Definitely top spec to be in there easily with anything that New Balance make, anything Adidas make, or any of those kind of they're runners, proper ones. The Green Party were also government with Fianna Fáil back then. They certainly were, isn't that? Yes, they have a history with Fianna Fáil. They know what they're doing, all right. Mark Brown, Bob, I asked Eric, jumping forward. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. The screens that are hopping up, and I missed 2 million questions. I see we're getting retracted messages. A lot of messages coming in. Be nice now. Be nice. There's so many of you on now. Tons and tons and tons. Keep clicking the like button, thanks. But tons of you have joined. So make sure you click the like button and tell me what's going on. Anyway, Eric Crotcher says, looking forward to link up with Nobby on cards. Should be good. He's on FM 104, by the way. Sorry, Nobby. I said something else, but on FM 104. I don't keep up where they're all moving around to. Luke O'Phelan was on somewhere as well. He's gone somewhere else now, I think, or is he doing his own thing? And they're all people I know, and it's like that in radio world. They move about a bit. I'm currently in negotiation with 2 radio stations to do a radio show. Not this as a radio show, but to do a radio show. I'm also filming with another company next month. We're making some sort of movie. Don't know what it is, and I'm in it, but we'll see. I don't know what that is yet. That's just people email me and ask me questions, so I always just go, yeah, sure. Let's do it. I never say no to anything. I'm such an idiot. I'm always afraid of not missing out. I have this mentality in my mind that you only regret the things you say no to. That's kind of it. You say, oh, I don't really want to go to the beach. No, I don't really want to go. And then everybody goes and have a great time and you regret not going. But if it just went, even if it was a miserable experience, you come home going, at least I know it was a miserable experience. So you're better off saying yes to pretty much everything and hope that it turns out to be something that, because you're in it, you bring an energy to it and it becomes good. Rob. Anyway, hi Bob. Jenny here, using my partner's profile. Hi Jenny. I have a Citroen C3, good little car that. I drove my partner's S3 and really liked the power. What would you suggest as an upgrade for me, but not too expensive on tax? I'm assuming you're talking about tax, so you're probably in Ireland. Because UK viewers don't tend to talk much about tax, because tax is fairly affordable over there, but over here it can nail you very quickly. Going from a Citroen C3, you can only really go up. Let me have a little Google search while I'm here. C3, yeah, that's not a bad little car. If it's the modern one, it's not bad. Now, if you like the little sort of SUV feel to thing, Renault Capture is actually quite good, but the engine is a very jerky thing these days. I think I find it turbos on and off and on and off, and you kind of get battered around the car. But if you were going up from there, I would certainly think about Tiguan if you want to get bigger than that. If you want, then you have my brother recently bought one as well, actually, on my advice. This Skoda, what's that little Skoda one called? Karoq, is it? Or Kodiaq? No, Kodiaq's a big one. Karoq is the middle one. There's a smaller one. There's a small version of Skoda. That's the one I kind of like the most. If I was buying one myself, I'd probably buy that. I would hold on for electric car at the moment, though. If I was going to make that jump to a brand new car, I'd probably jump to a brand new electric car. Andrew Daly, hi Bob, not sure you give holiday advice. We're booked a holiday to Ireland, Dublin about 4 months ago and have managed to cancel most of it. However, one hotel refuses to fully refund. They'll take 70% of the monies and are ignoring our emails. We are looking to adjust the date, but the hotel seems to be ignoring us. Any advice, please? Well, the hotel can't ignore you and can't steal your money. The thing didn't go ahead. That's not your fault. Your holiday didn't happen, and the hotel has to refund your money. It would be under the Consumer Goods Act, would be covered by that, because you are a consumer, obviously. Name and shame the hotel to me, please, and we'll make a phone call and we'll see if we can get in touch with them and find out, because I'm very quick at just picking up the phone and going, don't ignore me, because I'm going to come down there and turn up. Hotels are open again from tomorrow, so that hotel won't be ignoring you for very long because they're back to work. Don't be afraid of naming and shaming these sort of places. Really, you should immediately tell everyone that you know about that experience, because they'll do it again to somebody else. I don't think, unless there was a clause somewhere in the hotel, unless they made you agree to something beforehand that said they're going to take 70% if anything gets cancelled, that's the only way they could do it. But even then, it wouldn't supersede the Consumer Goods Act, and it wouldn't supersede any Consumer Goods Act that we have here under the law of the land. You can't sign away the Consumer Goods Act by signing any other contract. Cathal King, hi Bob. Eamon Ryan wants to put a high-speed bullet train from Dublin to Wexford. Do you think this will happen? No. Can you imagine the price of a whole new train track going in just to serve Wexford? For what? What's in Wexford that isn't served by car? Like, you just got to think, it's great to be able to say, over the next 10 years, if he said we want to connect Wexford to Dublin by train, forget high speed, just train, right? We can make trains go pretty fast without having to go 200 miles an hour. If you wanted to connect Dublin and Cork direct, if you wanted to connect Dublin and Galway and Donegal, right, and feed them all in that way, or come across the country, go to Portlaoise as a hub, or Athlone as a hub, which is all in the centre of the country, to have them all feeding that, would make sense. But why do we need a high-speed train? Why can't we just build a normal train track? It just seems insane to try and throw money at something that's going to take 10 years or 15 years and be bogged down in planning permission. It'll run over budget. It'll cost millions more than they said it was going to cost, because they'll find a snail that they can't get out of the way or whatever, and that'll torpedo the whole thing. It'll just cost a fortune. We need to deal with what we've got, but build for the future. So we need to go, yeah, that's great, but this is what we got right now. Let's fix what we have. Let's fix the cycle lanes. Let's get people commuting in at a reasonable speed. And then look at, can we, over the next 10 years, make better judgment calls when it comes to large-scale public transport, like trains. In actual fact, what we need to do is create more employment in the places that are at home. Why is there no more jobs being created in Laois than there was last year? Like, everyone's leaving Laois to go to work, which is a commuter county. Why don't we just have jobs that are here, then we don't need to commute anymore? We don't need the train. Anyway, John Bit 1. So when I did commerce in school, right, the first thing you did was, when you wanted to make jobs, you wanted to create a factory, you looked for a place of employment, so you built it. That's how factories ended up on the edges of small towns like Mountmellick, right, or Portarlington. You built a factory on the edge of the town because there was already a population there, so you got an instantly interested group of people to work in your place. Now what we do is we build them in the middle of the city or in some industrial park, and everybody has to commute to them. It's just backwards. It makes no sense. Anyway, hi Bob. Are the Kildare road works fully completed? Thinking of driving to Kilkenny? Yeah, you mean the ones going from like Newbridge there on the 3-lane section up to the other part of Naas? Yeah, that part is now 120 km/h zone, and it's fantastic. It's knocked a good 15 minutes, I reckon, off my commute to collect cars. I reckon there's a good 15 minutes gone out of that. Now you just go You're now at 120 from Portlaoise to Naas. That's all the way there on 3 lanes. Although people are thick and driving the centre lane a lot. Eric Watcher has linked the Sunday Service Facebook page there if you want to go to it. Stephen Donnelly, the traitor, says Alan O'Shea. Yeah. Well, you know, he's in Fianna Fáil now and he's the Minister for Health. Do you know the worst position I reckon to get in this country is the Minister for Health? Everybody who's ever done it has gone away into a heap in a corner and whimpers at the mere thought of having to be a Minister for Health. And it's mostly down to the fact that the health system is management top heavy. So, like when my mother was sick in hospital, when she had breast cancer, I spent a lot of time in hospital with her, in Naas, in James's, in the Hermitage. She had private healthcare, so we went to the Hermitage sometimes. And the remarkable difference between the Hermitage, where there was 6 or 7 people getting Herceptin and getting their chemicals fired into them, and then you go to James's, where there's a fella at the front door screaming his lungs out because he's high as a kite, and there's someone else outside on a wheelchair and they're barefooted and they're smoking cigarettes. And the total difference between the two. And then you go to Naas and you can't find a nurse because they're all in the office filling out forms. You know, it's become a litigious thing. It's become not a health service, but rather an administration service of just trying to get you in and out the door, alive or dead at this stage. So Stephen Donnelly is moving into a position where he's probably going to sink badly, I think. I don't foresee a good future to that. And I don't foresee the trust in the general public that I saw the outrage last night as he became the Minister for Health. And it just lit up going, this guy just betrayed everything to join Fianna Fáil. So I'd probably be off to the NHS next time. David Bradley, hi Bob, Skoda Superb, any good? My favourite car, still my favourite car. It's going to win next month as well against Nobby on cars. Sorry Nobby, it will. I don't even know, I don't care what car he's bringing, I'm going to win. I don't even know what the tests are, but I'm going to win. Yes, it's a great car. Skoda Superb is brilliant. The VU Bear, buy the estate one, DSG. It makes a lot more sense. It's a massive car. It's all the car you need for at least 10 years. VU Bear, Bob, what do you think of the Grandland X getting one in September this year? Would like your opinion on them. See, I'm always nervous about giving that opinion now because you're getting one, right? So you've made your decision now. You're going Grandland X. Yeah, I like that car. I'm going to buy that car. I'm going to ask Bob to make sure he says it's a good car. When he says it's a good car, it's definitely a good car. And when he says it's not a good car, I'll hate him forever. Because it's like this constant idea that if I say something wrong, you're going to like the car. I'm not a big fan of nearly anything that Opel has done in a number of years. Opel has generally missed the mark quite substantially on most of their cars. Usually it comes down to the interior feel and the ride and handling and seating positions and stuff. They just seem to miss out on stuff. Now they have been taken over by PSA, and hopefully that has dragged them into this century. The last car they brought out, the Corsa, I drove that back with Dave Humphreys actually, and Laura, who's moved from Opel now to another company, and we did some miles per hour down some waterways in Germany in 2 Opel Corsas. And it was a brilliant car, and still the best car they make is the Opel Corsa. But the Grandland X never quite ticked the box for me. It's a good car. I think it could have been a great car, but I think Opel ran out of money, and that's essentially what happened. That's how they ended up being sold as well. They sort of just ran out of money to keep it going. But best of luck with it. It's still going to be a good car for you. If you're getting one in September, you're going to enjoy it for sure. Everybody enjoys a brand new car, so don't ignore what I'm saying. You've bought the car now, keep going. Paul Feebury, will face recognition be worth having, seeing as everyone be wearing masks? That's my problem. I ran into that the other day. I was trying to pay by Revolut, you know, when you're at the thing, and I put, oh look at that, this is great service with a smile and everything. It's been brilliant here. Bit of coffee coming in from the wife list. Anyway, she never says anything, so it's good. I was standing in where was I standing? Aldi, I think, or Lidl or something. You know, they have the big plastic thing now in front of you trying to pay something, and the you have to kind of reach the phone under it to get at it. And the Revolut thing came up, and I had to come back and do the face recognition, take the mask off, and then to reach forward for it to do the thing. It was weird. It was kind of weird. Colin M. Creven, thank you very much. Very generous donation by PayPal. Don't forget, you can donate as well if you want to. It'd be really good if you could, to try and keep the whole thing moving very fast. There's lots of equipment. I'm still looking for a Canon EOS, or very hard to get at any sort of reasonable price. Or unless you're getting it off adverts, then it has to be drop shipped from somewhere else. You don't know how long that's going to take. I'll wait till everything calms down. Maybe I'll do it in the next couple of weeks. But I'm looking to try and upgrade the camera. Not this camera. I'm also going to upgrade this camera as well. I'm looking for Sony 6300, I think, or 6400 or something, which will replace this webcam that runs this. But I want everything to settle down, because the prices are extraordinary on camera equipment at the moment, because there's such a shortage, and you can't buy any mics. There's no webcams to be had. There's hardly any lights out there, because everybody started, I'm going to stream now. I have nothing to do. I'm barred at home. I'm going to start my own YouTube channel. I'm going to start reviewing cars for the fun of it. It's gas. But yeah, face recognition will continue to work. It works incredibly well on Apple. Some of the Android devices can be a little bit risky, a little bit dodgy as to what they're doing and whether your face is the right face. I have another Android phone here, and my wife unlocked it with her face, which looks nothing like my face. Unless I look very feminine. Maybe I shaved when I was doing the facial thing. Colin Crevens is looking at a 7-seat with rear-facing seats. Table for work, looking for Mercedes Vano. Many recalls on air suspension, drains the battery in winter conditions. Don't buy that car, Colin. Colin, I would 100%. The Volkswagen Caravelle does an incredible job at being a mobile office, and I really do mean that. I've had them here on a number of occasions. I got them for my kids' birthday. We brought all our kids and friends everywhere. They had so much fun with the seats facing each other, the table in the middle while you're driving along. It's an incredible thing. You don't get, so 9 seats is a little bit different, but you definitely do get the best of all. Renault also do the traffic in that, but I think it's more of a bus feel rather than, it's good, but it's more of a commercial feel to it. And actually Hyundai make a 9-seat van, which is actually pretty good. It's okay, but the best one I've had has been the Volkswagen Caravelle. The Viano one is too complicated for its own good. It really is. It costs you a bleeding fortune if something goes wrong. And yeah, the wind access or the wind assist on the side of it, which basically uses the brakes to kind of touch the brakes. We want to take that kind of feeling of being blown off the road out of it. Does actually drain the battery while you're in windy conditions. Yep, for sure. Tommy Turfmold, fantastic news regarding our new Minister for Transport. My timely investment in horse and carts and carriages will surely bear fruit. I should have bought a horse. Damn it! When I was talking about horsepower, I actually meant horses. BMW 2 Series looks like a Hyundai or Kia style gone wrong. Yeah, I think so. I know that BMW hooked up with Toyota to do some engines and gearboxes and stuff. They were at bits. They were swapping tech back and forward. But it just looks like the designer went over and went, here's the design we didn't use for the Corolla. Maybe you can use it. You might go, oh yeah, just put a little wing here and a little massive grille there, and we're done. Luke decided he was going to spam the channel. Didn't work for you, because Eric Rochford hit you with the ban hammer. Pretty hard. I like it. Colin Craven, V-Class, very expensive. Would like your opinion. Yeah, V-Class is a good, again, Mercedes make really good vans. But you're looking for a workhorse, and workhorses come in very weird shapes, and one of the best workhorses I've ever had here as a mobile office thing, and I know Volkswagen do it themselves as well, is the Caravelle. They bring it along to everything. It gets set up, they put the little tarp out in the front of it, they put chairs out everywhere, and everybody jumps in and out of it all day, and the car drives away like it never happened. I have been ferried all across Europe at incredible speeds in those vans as well. I remember I had a lovely driver, an ex-bodyguard, and he drove me while I was sitting in the back of a Caravelle down the Autobahn at 205 kilometers an hour in a Caravelle, and I dozed off in the back. It was lovely. Sam Dunn, hi Bob, I'm 19 and looking to get my first car soon. Any insurance tips? Every place I've looked at does young drivers insurance. You have to be 21. I got my first insurance at 17. It cost me £2,800, which would be equivalent of about $3,500 now, I think. 3.5, 3.7, somewhere around there for euro. Your first insurance is always Rape City. That's essentially what they do, is they just go after you. You're going to have to, unfortunately Sam, you're going to have to go down a route that Connor Faulkner would tell you is bad. You shouldn't be doing that. You're going to have to go onto your parents' insurance in some way. You're going to have to get help to get insurance to get you started. So you have to become, what often happens is you go on your parents' insurance as a second driver, but actually you're the primary driver. it's the boost, boys. You got to give your kids a boost, you know. Your only other option is to try and get in. Go to a broker. A lot of brokers will find ways to get you insurance that main insurance companies will go, nope, not doing that. Whereas a broker will take a little bit more chance. So ring around. Don't be afraid to phone up, though. Don't use websites. Do not get away from them. Price comparison Yorkshire useless. They're all pretty much useless. Pick up the phone. You will save hundreds from a phone call. I do it every single year. My own experience has been saving anywhere from 10 to 15% on the price that I'm quoted by any website just from a single phone call. And in one case, I saved over 50% from the same phone call. So definitely price around and go to wherever you think a good broker will work for. Talk to your folks, talk to your girlfriends or your boyfriend's folks, talk to them, talk to everybody about insurance. Someone will go, you know, I know a guy, and you'll get your insurance for sure. But ring around, get the best price, don't take the first one. David Bradley, hi Bob, IV Skoda Superb Estate, is it worthwhile or would you go for a petrol? I go for a PHEV at the moment. They're quite nice, but to be honest with you, it depends on your mileage. I'm still at the mileage level. It's still the same for electric as it has always been. If your mileage is quite high per year, your average mileage, if you want to know what your average mileage is and you're doing an NCT in your car, your NCT tells you, it records your miles every single year. You can look at them. If your mileage is over 20,000 miles or kilometers per year, or 15,000 miles to 20,000 miles, anywhere in that region, you're on that border where electric doesn't quite make as much sense as a diesel does, but you're very close. Depends on how you're doing it. If you're spending all day up and down motorways, forget electric. Forget it. It just gobbles electricity. Anything up, if you want to go anywhere at a reasonable speed, I mean, if you want to do 120 on a motorway in an electric car, just watch that little needle go as it just drains it, kills it doing it, whereas a diesel will do it all day long. So it's very dependent on the kind of driving you do and the mileage you're at. If you're over 30,000 to 40,000 kilometers a year, forget about it. Buy a diesel. Don't even think about electric or petrol. Neither of them is going to help you. I did a calculation the other day on the amount of electricity I have used in the house on electric cars. The beautiful box downstairs that I have, which is fitted by Mulhall Electrical, expertly fitted as well, tells me how much electricity has been used. I've spent about €25 thereabouts on electricity here in the house. The most of that was spent on a PHEV. Now, not full electric, because when you bring home a full electric, you might charge it twice in the week, maybe depending on miles, maybe even once a week, depending on my mileage here. But the PHEV, I had to charge nearly every day, so I was constantly plugging it into chargers. And so I actually spent more money on electricity for a PHEV than I did on a Mercedes EQC, which is a full electric car, and more money on that than on the Kia e-Soul, which we had last Christmas for I think 2.5 weeks or something. We had it here, and we spent next to nothing on that car. Charged it once up to town, charged it at one fast charge point, and then it did I think 2 or 3 charges here at home. We didn't drive it that much. So just bear that in mind. A PHEV cost me more in electricity in the 1 week I had it than any other electric car. Good banhammer there, wielding moderator. You're dead right. Footy Ferrari, new Seat Leon on test soon, Bobby. Yes, I do. Can't remember when, but it is soon. Looks like a good solid cut price VW Golf. Don't know about cut price. I think it just looks a bit more distinctive than the Volkswagen Golf. I like the Golf from the back, but from the front, something wrong. I just can't quite put my finger on what I don't like. Something's weird about the front of the car, and its side profile of the Golf 8 is the same as the Golf 7. Just the same. They've just reused the bleeding doors and everything, which is kind of interesting. Mulhare Electrical. My apologies. I have been reminded that it's Mulhare Electrical. Sorry, I was thinking of lads uptown. I was thinking about Mulhalls uptown. Barry Hughes. Come on, Barry. Thank you very much. Has donated by Super Chat, which sounds fabulous, but it still mounts up to give money to Google, who give money to me, which is quite good. Thank you very much. But yes, it is Mulher Electrical, who worked with me downstairs on how much that is actually costing me to run on electric cars. And usefully, the little app taught me exactly how many kilowatt hour things we charge and what dates it happened. I can match it up to the exact car. But yeah, PHEV cost me more than any other electric car that I've had over the week because I charge it more often. Gary Collings says, hi, have you heard anything about the Skoda Vision I Coupe? Is that coupe? Is that supposed to be coupe? The only Skoda, yeah, I have heard about Skoda Vision, but the only Skoda that I've driven that is not on the road yet is the Enyaq, which has got a video on the channel already. That will be similar to Vision, so that's Vision is going to be electric as well. There's going to be a lot of electric stuff coming out of Volkswagen Group next year and towards the end of this year. So just bear that in mind, that we're going to have a market flooded with electric cars from Volkswagen Group, from everybody. The Chinese are coming as well to Europe for sure with their electric cars. I've seen the emails, I've seen the interest. They're knocking on the door of pretty much everybody. You'll see Volvo will start to evolve into that electric car range as well. They've been pretty slow about it, funny enough. I thought they'd be quick off the mark with that sort of stuff. Mark Turner Smith says, best small engine combination I've ever owned but had to hand back on PCP over job fears. Still resolved by NHS Trust was a 2015 VW Polo Blue GTI, 148 brake horsepower, a junior VW Polo GTI. VW didn't help me. Well, that's tragic, isn't it? That's tragic when you have to hand back something that's really good. Andy McAfee has been in here in the background. What are you doing? Don't be hanging around in the background. David Bradley 1500's answered the question there. Missed off the video upload was Wolfhound. Do you do Clearwater sell fluoride filters? You'd have to ask Clearwater. There's a link in the comments down below, clearwater.ie. Send them an email and they will tell you. I know there's a range of home user stuff coming out from Clearwater this year, but they were commercial up to this point, so large commercial installation stuff, but there is some retail stuff coming this year, which is why they've been asking about sponsorship of the channel. Great bunch of people, honest to God, check them out. It's worth a click down the bottom and see what they actually do, and get in touch with John down there as well. He's a nice guy. Keep the hair bob, the bob hawk looking good. See, it is good. I look like a cockatiel walking around the place. I just haven't done the hair probably either. It just needs to be cut. It needs to be trimmed up a little bit. We've been doing this now. I've done the Son of Service every single week for, is it 15 weeks or 16 weeks now? Definitely since the start of the lockdown, and a bit further back than that. But I have not missed a single week during the lockdown. So I've been trying to entertain everybody, give them all a reason to come every Saturday, every Sunday. Oh my God, that coffee's lovely. Colin Foley. Bob, where do you stand on the reporting of the schools in September, reopening of the schools? What do you make some of the teachers' unions saying that they might not be willing to go back to September due to COVID? You know what? This is where I get upset now in a grand scale. Teachers have unlimited amount of ability. Generally speaking, most teachers are teaching something that is outdated these days. We've been homeschooling the kids here. That's very hard work. That's insane work. And now tomorrow schools are open, but we've nowhere to put kids, right? So if I have to go and swap cars, the kids have to come with me. There is no option. I understand teachers don't want to be in the way, but the risk level below 13 years old is so low that the government has said don't worry about masks for them even. Forget about it, right? So I think the teachers need to get back to work. And I mean get back to work in a proper sense. Not this 1 day a week or 2 day a week stuff. If the whole country is getting back to work, then everybody has to get back to where we started. That includes teachers, and schools have to reopen. How can we get the country working again? How can we get everybody back into offices, into office blocks, into factories, into buildings, into meat plants, when the teachers won't go back? Where do the kids go? You're talking about opening creches. Creches cost money. And it costs you 8-9 hours a day in a creche for kids. Sounds absolutely insane. The kids need to get back to school, back into seeing their friends, the curriculum. It's been very hard, particularly on young kids. especially kids maybe living in the country or who are disconnected from they're not living in an estate with a group of other kids they can meet out the front or have a chat with. So it's very hard on them. And I really do think the schools need to go back in September. And it seems insane that I know when the barbers are open, I know when the pubs are open, I know when the hotels are open, but I don't know when the schools are open. That smacks of teachers who just want to take a few more months off, and teach from home in their little Zoom meetings and send out the odd email here and there from their kitchen. That's basically what's going on at the moment, particularly primary school level, because that's exactly the support we're getting in primary school. They send us work, and then we have to stand over the kids for 5 or 6 hours a day, try to get them to do stuff and try to get them to do projects and get them to remember and we have to do all that as parents, and we have to work. It's not fair. It really isn't. And it smacks of we need to get back on with something. September, I mean, we're reopening everything week after week here, so I can't understand why we can't target September and go, yeah, we're open again, schools in September, we're going for it. It would make sense. Adrian Mulally tried driving to from Donegal to anywhere nearest motorways, the M1 near RD or the M17 in Galway. I've been up there many times, Adrian, and you're absolutely right. The roads are fantastic fun, but if you're commuting, that fun very quickly disappears when you're just trying to get to work, right? I've taken 2 routes. One, we went on holidays a couple of times to Donegal. Me and the kids and the wife, we went up and stayed. I actually made a couple of videos up there a long time ago. But basically hook around from Sligo and across the coastline there, and it turns into the most beautiful scenic area. But as a commuter road, it's awful. And we made a video with Skoda there last year as well, up in very north tip of Donegal. And I went straight up the middle of the country and across the border and right up through the centre of Northern Ireland, which the roads are awful. Anywhere outside of Belfast, the roads get terrible up there. It used to be the other way around. It used to be the Northern Ireland roads were fantastic and Southern Ireland roads were crap, but now it's the opposite. They're really poor up Northern Ireland. But yeah, Donegal is a difficult place to get in and out of, and it's totally forgotten about when it comes to representation in the government, as is a lot of the countryside. Stuart James, bikes are way more better for freedom and fun than cars, except for the distance. The range a car can go is a little bit further than you're going to go on a bike. And I know, being a cyclist, I know how far you go on a bike in a handy old day. 100 kilometres is grand on a bike, but you won't be walking straight when you get to the other end of it. But yeah, bikes are great crack. Cycling bikes is great crack for freedom and fun, but motorbikes is on a different level. If you got to put up with weather, and so if you're going to drive something every single day, then motorbikes are like wet, miserable places you got to compromise to. It's good, but not that good. VU Bear, smash the like button all. Thank you, VU Bear, you're very good. Mo Beats, good afternoon people, you're late, where were you? Am I really that far behind? Am I like an hour behind you? Nearly an hour behind you. I'm sorry. But we'll catch up. Don't worry. It'll all happen all at once. We'll be there. Leo, the Who, says asymptomatic transmission is extremely rare. The Who. The Who. I think of the band. Sorry. But I didn't remember that number one hit of extremely rare asymptomatic transmission. It sounds like a good song. I don't believe a lot of what the Who says most of the time because they're lagging behind real life. But like, transmission rates seem to be so low now that I can't understand why we can't target September for just everything to open again. Just forget about it. I don't think we're going to go back. I don't think we can afford to go back to any sort of lockdown, and I don't think we will go back. I just don't believe it's going to happen. And I think the major problem will be airports. I think the major hassle will be travelling to and from other countries. I think that is going to be a disaster zone. I think if we lock that off until September or October this year, no overseas holidays, no going anywhere, no travel on airlines, just forget about it until we've killed this dead, and then we can start thinking about it again. Anyway, Pádraig McInerney says, hi Bob, my father has a Toyota CHR, good car, due for change on the disabled driver scheme. Loves the ID3, but is concerned that lower than the CHR and height is the number one priority. Any thoughts? It is lower. What I've sat in, ID3, it is lower than the CHR, but I do believe the door opens wider, that you might find it easier to get in and out. Now, I don't know whether you're walking or is it disabled where it involves a chair or what is it, but if it's a hip problem, which I suspect it's going to be, if you talk about the height of the car, it's always a hip problem. Then ID3 is slightly lower, but it's still going to be quite tall in comparison to a car. In other words, in comparison to something like a Golf, the ID3 is taller than that. But I think the CHR would have it slightly on the height. You could check out the new CHR. It's pretty good, but all the back seats a bit small and maybe it's a little bit dark in the back, but so was the original one. But ID3 is lovely. If you're looking for an electric car, Kia e-Soul would be around the same height as a CHR, I think. Near enough, I'd say, between the two. There won't be a lot of electric stuff in that range just yet, in that small SUV shape, because it's the shape of batteries, and of course they just don't have enough cars at the moment. Everything's going to be that small little runabout electric car, you know. Wait for ID3, test it too, don't just hang on for it. Leo says, and Who did a video saying that people with no symptoms shouldn't wear a mask. Why wouldn't you wear a mask? Every single medical organisation on earth says wear a mask. If I'm standing in, this is just logic in my head, right? If I'm standing in a room and a fellow over there has COVID-19, a fellow over there hasn't got COVID-19, and he's not wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask, and I'm wearing it properly, he's going to get COVID-19 from that guy. I won't, because it'll hit the outside of the mask and stay there. And so long as when I'm coming out of that room that I take the mask off by pulling the strings away and then dispose of the mask without touching the mask and then wash my hands and keep them away from my face, I have very little chance of getting COVID-19. So yeah, that's my own mad thoughts. Mark Turner-Smith says UK NHS trusts medical world fully expecting a second peak wave. So am I. Last weekend when UK lockdown officially ended, the scenes of mass gathering was mad. I've seen mass gathering in Ireland and the lockdown isn't ended at all yet. You should have seen Benny's yesterday. Whitewater Shopping Centre was open. I did tweet a picture from there about piss distancing, which ended up being retweeted multiple times by Batch and by Honest John. Weird doesn't even follow me. He retweeted as well. Piss distancing. What it's done is the urinals and the men's urinals, which Men's Health is on my mind quite a lot, because I seen a post on our lovely Facebook page about Men's Health and classic cars and things. But so what it's done is they like if you have 5 urinals, they've blocked off urinal number 2 and number 4, so you can't stand beside each other. But my point was that that's the way we go to the toilet anyway. Men, we never stand beside each other. If you walk into a urinal with men and you go to urinal 1, the next person in will go to number 5, and the next person in will go to number 3, and probably no one will go to 2 and 4 anyway, because nobody wants to stand elbow to elbow with the person next to them going to the toilet. So it was funny. I tweeted a picture yesterday, but I used the phrase piston sting, which is distancing, social distancing. So get away from each other. I'm sure YouTube has just demonetized this video, which would be funnier again. More mopeds in cycle lanes in the Netherlands caught me by surprise. Yeah, I know, it catches everybody by surprise, especially the very quiet electric mopeds they have. And you see those little fast electric mopeds that they have that are totally silent all the time, and they're in, like, you're there at the traffic lights with all of the cyclists, and in among you is this little fast and it's gone, and it's really quick. I'm sure people get massacred, but we don't hear about it. Mini eggs. The COVID infection rate is still twice that it was before it went into lockdown, and people complained we locked down 2 weeks too late. They seem to have forgotten that. True. Adrian Milani, I think with COVID, all the advice we're getting is evolving because we're still learning as we go. All the governments are winging it. We're lucky because we're able to learn from Korea, etc. That's a good point. We're still learning what it means to have COVID-19, or what it's like to get through it or not get through it, as the case may be. Don't forget, we've lost people. People have died, whether they died from it or they died because it accentuated something they've already got wrong with them. You know, people who had breathing problems to begin with and then get COVID-19 didn't make it, and other people had some other problems as well that ended up passing away. So people have lost people and couldn't go to funerals and couldn't be near a family and couldn't go and talk to their relatives and all that. You know, so it happened. I lost my brother last year as well, last December, but not from COVID-19, from cancer. But I kind of know what it means to not be able to go and talk to your friends and family about stuff. You know, it goes that direction. Eric Roger says, opening up international travel fully will tell a lot in a few weeks for COVID. Will if we keep testing, for sure. Mick Daly, Bob, reference bikes in Holland. Children have to learn to ride bikes in school and know the rules of the road, unlike here where bikes don't even get to obey the red lights. You see what I mean? This is when a country has been doing it for long enough, you find that they've got all the systems in place that we have none of. Nothing. My kids know the rules of the road because I taught them to them. That's because I taught them to cycle. So I taught them the rules of the road. I taught them what side of the road to be on, how to get there, what to do with traffic lights, how to deal with roundabouts on a bike, when to walk, when to cycle, all that stuff. I've done that sort of stuff. But cycling in Portlaoise is dangerous. There is no better way that I can put it. It's dangerous. I saw a girl on a skateboard the other day nearly get run over by a car because she's on a skateboard. And she lost her confidence. The skateboard flew out and went under a wheel of a car. People just... We're not equipped for it. We think it's just a right... Oh, sure, here's a bike, child. Go out there and cycle and enjoy yourself. When you fall off, come in and I'll fix you. And that's it. It's crazy, like. Andy McPhee says, blue reg plate on a 30km/h scooter in the Netherlands can use cycle lanes. All yellow plated proper bikes can use roads. They spend big money and cyclists have the ultimate right of the road in most cases. That's true. I remember doing a review. It was a Toyota. Was it an Igo? I think it was an Igo. I was with Donald O'Byrne from RTE. And we were driving down this we're going to a cafe at a lake or something. I can't remember what the hell it was. But we were driving down and we realised that 3/4 of the road was a cycle lane. And this little bit that you just fit in one car on was the car section. And we met another car. And you can't enter the cycle lane. There's a barrier. So you have to get into reverse up. This is a big road, but most of the road is a cycle lane. So they've already got that sorted out, Annie McPhee says, hit a cyclist in the Netherlands and injured him badly, and you may have to support them for the rest of your life financially, even if they rode out in front of you. It's your fault. If driving in the Netherlands, always seek out specific liability insurance that covers the cyclist laws for liability on you, the driver, not your vehicle's insurer, who won't pay. Not expensive, but vital. See? They already have the rules of the road around a version of the cyclist. We could do it. It just takes so long to instigate these things here. We need to work on stuff that we can achieve in the short term, because Eamon Ryan is not going to be the Minister of Transport in 4 years. Do you get what I mean? This is going to be something. He's going to come and make an impact and then disappear, because it's not a long-term position. It never has been. 4 to 8 years and they're gone, one way or the other, because they get too old and then have so much money that they just retire. And they can take their pension and walk away and chill out in the back end of nowhere and do nothing. And do what Bertie Ahern's been doing for years now. Appearing in the odd ad. And then, going overseas there and giving talks and lectures on what it's like to be a Taoiseach and a leader of a country. And I drove the country into absolute total and utter recession. But I did the Northern Ireland Agreement. Sorry, I'm being facetious now, but I don't like that man. Moby says roads in Ireland are basically the same width as cycle lanes, aren't they? No, we have big roads too. We do big roads. Tony S. Bob, physical separation between cars and bicycles, even if it's hard plastic bollards fixed on road like done recently in the Quays in Dublin, is a start. Correct. I'm 100% with you on the physical separation. Something, even just a ridge that's too big for a car to hop over, you know what I mean? It could be a concrete bollard, it could be a bars, it can be whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of street furniture. I'm not talking about more stuff on the street, but you can certainly separate a cycle lane out from a driving lane, because 9 times out of 10 you're cycling along, a car stops to turn right in front of you, the car behind him pulls out to the left, enters the cycle lane, cuts off the cyclist to try and squeeze by another car, squeeze 2 or 3 other cyclists, and all of a sudden the cycle lane has 5 bicycles in it. Some are travelling at 50 kilometers an hour, other ones are travelling at 10 kilometers an hour. It's crazy. We can't keep doing that. And particularly when we get the advent of pedal assist bicycles, which are fast. I've had a few of them here on test and they are quick. When you start to pedal, they will really pick up speed and get going very quickly. Mobeats, my Mark 1 pre-facelift Honda HR-V was the best car I ever had. I wonder, is it though? I often wonder. I always think that my Nissan Cherry was brilliant. I had a Toyota Carina, which was a fabulous car. Loved it to bits. And I have this brilliant nostalgia rose tinted glasses about it, but I wonder if I actually drove it now, would it be any good at all? Porrick McInerney sent some money by PayPal. You're very good. You can do the same by PayPal, Patreon. join a membership here, do super chat, anything you can do. It all goes into a great big pot of money to keep this channel running, because I don't do advertising. That's how I get to say whatever the hell it is I want to say on this channel, and I can talk about anything I want, and I can quote about stuff, I can talk about advertisers. I did retweet last night that Diageo suddenly decided that they don't like the idea of social media anymore, and they just knocked it off, and you'll find that social media are bringing on an absolute ton of rules, what you can and can't say, what you're allowed to say, this agreement, that agreement, and all of a sudden you won't be able to talk about anything you want because it offends advertisers. Advertisers are killing your freedom of speech. Noel Finnegan, Bob, what do you think of Eamon Ryan taking the transport job? Will he have us all driving electric cars? That's his goal. Well, actually, probably cycling his goal. It's not electric cars. But that he's just reflecting what's happening in the market anyway. You look at the videos when I put them up, you look at the views on the videos. If I mention electric cars, Teslas, any of that sort of stuff, boom, everybody's in on top and they're all watching it. If I put up a thing about a diesel car, maybe. Well, you know, that's just a compliance car. Why are they put the Audi video, the Audi Q3 Sportback, great car. One of the comments underneath I read the other day was, why are Audi making this? It's just a car that's going to be gone in a few years anyway. So what's the point? Why don't you just make it electric? Instantly, like it was like this instant reaction. So I think the market, the sentiment, the social media sentiment behind electric cars has got quite a push to it. I don't think that's reflected in real life. I think normal people are not really shoving that same direction, but certainly social media surge goes towards electric quite well. Mo Beats, keep up the word work, Bob. £9.99, $9.99. I like it. Thank you very much. You're very good. I'm glad I can be useful to you. Byron says, Bob, make a documentary on Citroën, then I can send you the Haynes AX manual. I'm going to show you a clip for the crack. I don't know what this is going to do to this may or may not cause YouTube to go, you're streaming something that's copyrighted, but I don't care because it's a brilliant clip. Watch this clip and come back to me after this.
Give me the police.
Right, you can watch the rest of that clip yourself later on. That's Burt Reynolds in a Citroen SM, driving it completely out of context. I don't understand why he's driving that car in that film. But it's a funny little clip. It's of its time. Obviously, it's of its time from that time of the year. But it's a Burt Reynolds clip. It's definitely watched. It's from The Longest Yard, is the name of the movie. It's worth watching the movie. It's actually not that bad, but it is a typical Burt Reynolds movie for sure. But that's a little clip that I just thought I'd put up for the crack. There's more to it than that. He wrecks the car, he drives it off bridges and does all sort of stuff to it, but I couldn't show you everything because YouTube goes, this has got copyright material in it and I'll have to block your stuff, so I turn it off. Anyway, no more 1 litre Skoda Citigo for you, Mr. Flavin Saturday. No, it's gone now. That's that. It's electric now, and they're not even going to sell that in Ireland for some strange reason. Mo Beats, I'm pushing a Hyundai Ioniq PHEV right now. Only 30-40 miles in EV mode, but no range anxiety. I don't get range anxiety in electric cars anymore. They go so far now, it doesn't make any difference. It used to be a problem. And I'd say if you went out now and bought like a Gen 1 Nissan Leaf or an older Zoe or something, you'd probably go, my God, this doesn't go very far, does it? So it's probably, it plays something in your mind, right? John Paul Williams, wait, no, that's his answer something else. Pesky Critters, ESB are upgrading the 22 kilowatt standard chargers to DC. This reduces your Zoe's 22 kilowatt charging just to 2 kilowatts to 6 kilowatts. Well, that's great news. Pesky Critters, I wouldn't buy a Zoe and depend on the 22 kilowatt charging on every street corner. Why would you upgrade from 22 to 2? That doesn't really make any difference. Well, it doesn't make any sense. I know you're going from AC to DC, but really they work like this is the problem with electric cars. Everything changes. It's all too quick. We're all moving too fast. The technology is being upgraded faster than the cars are being bought. This is the biggest problem. If they're going to upgrade these chargers, then you make a whole heap of cars defunct. What happens then? It makes no sense to do this. It's stupid. Anyway. Johnny Morris, I agree, Bob. A cycle lane from Naas to Dublin along with a Lewis track running parallel. That way you can cycle some of the way or all the way. It would take thousands of cars off the road. You are absolutely spot on. I'm telling you, that's what we need to do with every road. If there was a cycle lane from here to Mount Mellick the next one over, from Portlaoise to Mount Mellick, that ran alongside that crappy bog road, why in the name of God they haven't done that? There's nothing on either side but drainage dishes. Just build a cycle lane and leave it at that. A road that connects the two towns up. Hold on. It jumped on me there for a second. Oh yeah, here we are. Byron's answered the question. Rebels inline hockey team. Bob, do you know an ID3 First has the same price like Golf Style or Orline 1.5 TSI? 34 grand. What do you think about that? It's too expensive. Electric cars are too expensive. I 100% back this thought. Electric cars cost too much money. They need to come down in price to even begin to compete. But instead of competing in price, the petrol and diesel cars are going up to match them. That's what's kind of happening along the background. WLTP changed the price and they're putting the price up a little bit. Kind of gouging the price of petrol and diesel to make them seem like they're nearly the same price electric cars. So when you buy electric, but actually the electric cars are too expensive to begin with. And that's not going to change until you stop buying them. When you stop buying them, they'll lower the price. They'll find ways of lowering the price. But electric cars are still expensive because they buy in nearly everything. John Paul Williams, the green agenda is to huddle everyone into mass apartment blocks and give us all COVID 2019 and forget about isolation yourself in a one-off house in the country. Don't know if that's the green agenda, to be honest with you. Not sure I agree with you on that one. Byron says at least Shane Ross licensed the snow-selling rickshaws in Dublin. Mr. Ryan would have embraced them and thousands of Brazilians would have applied for English college. Last time I came out at a Radiohead concert in Dublin, got into a car, lads, and the rickshaw things were everywhere. And I mean everywhere. How do you, like, this is insane. How in the name of God are you supposed to get around Dublin, them rickshaw jokes? And I don't spend much time in Dublin after that, but that just seemed like a stupid thing. John Paul Williams says they don't care about broadband. It's the Green Party. In the country, the Greens want you in a bigger built-up city, not in the country or rural. Yeah. I think that's just the way the world is going. We're all trying to move into cities. Pesky Critters. Bob, did you ever review the Kia e-Niro? Yeah, I did. Brilliant. But it's the same as the Kia e-Soul, and the e-Soul is slightly better. e-Niro is a bit weird, I think, looking. I thought you were running for 3 weeks over Christmas and detail how you got on with charging, range, running costs, etc. That was the e-Soul. I did that for a particular article that has already been published in a particular outlet. David Cook. Hi, Bob. I nearly forgot about your Sunday service. Forgive me. You are forgiven. Say 2 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers. William Bellingham. Good afternoon, all. You're late. Byron's there. Kamak is still the Skoda SUV. I've only seen one about. Yeah, Kamak is still a small one. That's the one I like. I like this Kamak. Gareth Desborough says, hi Bob, what's your view on the V2G becoming more widely supported? Maybe Tesla enabling soon with a 1,000,000-mile battery. Is that the killer that will encourage more people to go electric and PV? No. I see, look, there's early adopters. So there's people out there right now who are watching this on an iPhone 11 Pro, and they have watched the keynote speech for the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro and the S and all that stuff, right? They buy electric cars, and they buy the latest of electric cars, and they have the money to do so. The average person in Ireland, if you look at what's called the car park, so the 2.5 million cars that are on the roads in Ireland, the car park is 8 to 12 years old. So the average person buys a kind of upgraded used car. So they come out of a 10 or 15-year-old Seat into a Dacia Duster or into a Sandero or whatever, right? And they hold on to that for a few years, another few years. And then they trade up into a Renault Megane, but the Megane is 2 years old or 3 years old, and they try and get a deal on it the whole time. So the problem exists. If you want to encourage people into electric, you want to get them out, they have to come down in price, and you have to stop moving the goalposts. If you buy my petrol car is 15 years old. It still does 600 kilometers on a tank of fuel. The fuel nozzle hasn't changed. The technology behind driving a fuel nozzle has not changed. I pay more tax, but I still can drive it on the same petrol that I bought 15 years ago. The electric car systems, we had CHAdeMO, we've had Chameleon, we've had home 3-pin plugs, we've had 3.5 watt chargers, 7.4 kilowatts, we've had 22. Now I hear there's just another one there saying that 22 is going down, DC charger is going to be turned into 2 kilowatt chargers. The Zoe's crap. I think the Zoe's great. So the information is changing so quickly. People are terrified to buy a car they're going to get stuck with in a few years' time that can't go very much because they've changed something in the network. The only one who hasn't changed what they do, or if they do, they bring everybody with them, is actually Tesla. The last time I had a Model X, they gave it a converter to go from one thing to another, like CCS. Converter was there, built in the little frunk thing at the front, which I closed badly on purpose. But they're thinking about dragging everybody along with them, whereas everyone else just seems to forget about it. Just gone. No, CHAdeMO, who wants that? Sure, get rid of that. So anyone who has a CHAdeMO car now suddenly goes, hang on a second, I can't charge it anymore because they're going to get rid of the chargers. So what happens to the car? It's got a CHAdeMO connector on the front. There's no CHAdeMO chargers. They're gone. We're all CCS now. Good luck. Buy something else there. Buy a converter. Get another little plug there. Another USB port will do you fine. So yeah, you want to encourage people in, you got to make the pathway, the route in has to be simplified a little bit, make it easy for people. Alex got a Kamak, the friend has wanted Brian Donnelly, right? Yeah, Paul Feebry, Bob, you'll be swapping that chair for a commode in the next few weeks. Me, I'm like a camel. I need no urine to come out of me whatsoever. I know it's it depends how long you have to sit here for. It's 10 to 4, so we're catching up. I catch up in this. I get there. Byron says, what's in Wexford? Mick Wallace rolls in his bed in Brussels. That's true. He still embarrasses me regularly. Honest to God. I think our politicians, it's great to have this idea that you look like the common man, but I really do think there's a level of business professionalism that has to come forward. I dress in a t-shirt for this because that's what you guys expect. That's what I portray. That's what I dress in every day. You're in my office, which is in my house, so that's the way I dress here. I don't dress in a shirt and tie. But if I'm going to meet someone for a business, for a sponsor, and I want to talk to them about it on a business level, I do dress up. I do. I put a jacket on, maybe a shirt on, maybe it's a pair of jeans. It might be slightly relaxed, but it certainly isn't a dirty t-shirt with hair all over the place and not shaven for 6 weeks. It's an embarrassment to me as an Irish person, knowing that my representative in Europe looks like he just walked out of a homeless shelter. Your thoughts? High-speed trains will go like the most expensive hospital in the world. Spot on there, boy. Spot on. 152 likes, 177 likes now. You should like more often. You should support the channel and give me money. so I can buy a new camera and new lights and a new camera for there, and just loads of things. Honest to God, if we got to a good level, which is kind of still in my mind now, I want to hire a camera person to make the videos. We could actually make a lot more videos and really expand the channel quite quickly if I had a camera person. I think we would go down the route of, like, not like Car Wow. I don't really like, that's like a factory. It's good, but it's very factory like. Kind of just nice, relaxed sort of idea. Be good. Byron says 1,500 quid a week, pension and a seal. What does Donnelly care if he does well? He has succeeded. He has won, house paid for, family raised, simples. Although, you know what, I wouldn't really want to be a politician in this country. I think it's bad if you're not in a political family sort of thing. I'd say he finds it hard enough to go outside his front door without being spat on, from a distance. Like, he made a lot of enemies joining Fianna Fáil. He really didn't do himself a lot of good there for a long political career. He's not an old man. Like, he's not up for retirement just yet. John Paul Williams, can the Green Party now take out the tunnel boring machine from the Port Tunnel and finish off the Metro Lewis from Dublin Airport to Bray and put in 3 tracks to facilitate the Lewis Metro and CIE trains? I'd love that, but where to get all the money from? We're one of the only European cities who doesn't have a train connection from the airport to the city centre. You can't get a train in Dublin. I know, I've done it a million times. There's only buses or taxis, and that's it. That's your lot. And the taxis are controlled, very carefully controlled. You have to be held on the rank, and then you're sent up and you're told to go up, and that's it. Mr. Scott J87 says CIOB article on high speed rails in Europe, that figure is 25 million to 39 million per kilometre, while in California, the only US state currently planning a high speed line, is more like 56 million per kilometre. Holy shekels, that is a lot of money for a kilometre. I mean, that's an insane amount of money for a kilometre when you think about how hard that is. Can we not just get a chain gang or something and build it that way? Like, that'd be cheaper. That's the way they used to do it, wasn't it? That's what I see on the movies, and they used to do it. Mo Beats, who has spent some money on Super Chat. Any tips for buying a left-hand drive car on finance? Looking to ship it abroad for a few years after it's paid off. Thinking about a Suzuki Jimny. You'd be looking to get a Suzuki Jimny. They're very hard to find. No, you would probably not be able to finance a left-hand drive car in this country, or even insure it. It could be difficult. You would have to import it properly, and then you could probably get it insured. But financing it, I very much doubt anyone is going to finance it left-hand drive, just because if they don't know it, they tax it. If they go left-hand drive, oh no, I can't finance that. They'll just say no instantly. But I'm sure you could get finance for it from somewhere. You get a car loan. It's still just a car, Annie McPhee says, reference railways and change. Track gauge in Ireland has remained 1600mm, not the 1435mm standard gauge used by the majority of the world. Makes engines and carriage more expensive. Lack of used stock. Isn't this just typical? It's the Irish way. We'll do it our way. And then, of course, when we need to change anything, we won't be able to buy anything because it will be different from everybody else in the world. Annie McPhee says, well, a new high-speed line is good because they changed the standard gauge. If doing so can take advantage of going high-speed on top. Coffee. Is the channel no longer sponsored by Barry's Tea? I'm just having a coffee this time, and normally 99.99999% of the time have Barry's Tea wherever I go. Barry's, get in touch. You want a sponsorship? I'll stick a logo behind my head here that says Barry's Tea if you want. I'm like that. I am slut. Dale Davis, afternoon Bob. I hope you're well. I am. Another great Sunday service as always. Thank you. Also, I do local community radio broadcasting and was wondering if you would like to have a friendly chat at some point. Sure, Dale. BobFlav@thenextgear.com. Send me an email and send me a link to what I have to do, and I'll join in a chat with anybody at any time. I'm always interested in local community radio and local radios and stuff as well. Radio is brilliant. Radio is actually brilliant, but it's absolutely murdered by advertising revenues and trying to get money in the door the whole time. That's why I think this kind of community effort that I do here is something that's very unusual. because there's no ad breaks. Well, I don't put them in. I don't. The ones I do are just like little 5-second, 8-second clips. I don't put in an ad break every 15 minutes with 3 breaks every, half hour and that sort of stuff. I don't do that kind of thing. Andy McPhee, at First Insurance, mine was first insurance for Andy was £2,850 for a 1.1 litre Fiesta that cost £200. My first car cost me £100. That's a Nissan Cherry, £100. It was canary yellow and cost me over $3,000 to insure. Insurance in parents' name. Wait now, just wait till 38. My first insurance was £900. Smart car. Wait now. Oh yeah, wait till 38. Okay, all right, yeah. Wait till nearly 40, then you can have your cheap insurance. Don't worry, it gets cheaper over time. Andy says insurance in parents' name, but as a name driver, when it's actually your car, is known as insurance fronting in the UK and is quite illegal. If your name is adding a parent as name driver can sometimes help. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to do insurance fronting, but how do you get it? I mean, I couldn't. My mother didn't even have a driver's license when I started to drive, so I had to get all the insurance in my name. So I had to start at the top end of it. I didn't have someone to add to it, but that stood me over the years. I suppose I've never had a claim against me for insurance. So I'm alright. Is it actually allowed in the Republic of Ireland? Still called insurance fronting. If you buy the car and your parent insures it and then you just drive it, that's still insurance fronting here as well. Don't think it's illegal though. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that out. I'm not an insurance specialist in that respect, so I don't know whether that's illegal or not. Warren Savage says, hi Bob, my PCP is up in January 2021. Have a 181 1.5 petrol Insignia, 42,000 kilometres. What would you recommend for the next 3 years? Not electric. Not sure electric makes sense as they are way more to buy up front. Yeah, if you're rolling over a PCP on a petrol car to electric, it can be quite a big step to get from one to the other. But if you're going from an Insignia, you might want to check out something like a Volkswagen Passat, which you can have a PHEV version. You could get a Skoda Superb or something. PHEV won't be a big step between the two, so you're getting in that direction. You're going the right direction for something to trade in. I would certainly consider a PHEV. Or at least a hybrid or something next, because diesel after that, moving from a diesel to an electric will be another step entirely. You're just changing in January 2021, so 22, 23, 24 before you actually change again, maybe for your 3 years or 4 years out. So you probably have a good selection of electric cars by that point to choose from. But I would certainly consider going to something from the Volkswagen Group from your Insignia. Barry Hughes, hi Bob, we have 45mm profile tyres in the car. That is the minimum. Is there any issues increasing to 55mm to improve ride quality? No, there isn't really. The thickness of the edge of the tyre is donated by the size of the wheel. So the wheel has to travel up and down within the wheel arch. So as long as it's not hitting or rubbing on the inside of the wheel arch, you can make the tyres fatter, but you can't change the width of them. So like 195, 55 or 14, you can change. You have to keep the 14 bit. You can make them 15s. You can go 15. You can go up one on that, but the 195 is the width across, so you gotta keep that. That has to be the same size, because you can't make them thinner because the wheel is wider. I've seen a good few people actually looking around for steel spare wheels to go on their cars to go back to normal kind of skinny tires from alloy wheels, because alloy wheels are generally wider. But you can go to 55mm tires to improve your quality. Yeah, no problem. Mark Smith, back in 2 older cars. 2001 Polo 6N2 GTI, fun. 2007 Mini Cooper daily, average miles done about £1,400 to buy, but couldn't refuse because of the dire VW PCP Bolo Blues GT mess landed me in. Barry Hughes, Mike Conroy, don't know what that is. Is that like a slap in the face or something? What's that mean? You're all answering each other now. Hold on, I'm catching. Have you ever climbed Carrauntoohil? When I was young, lads, yeah, definitely. I used to go to hill walking all the time. Lugnaquilla, Carrauntoohil. Went off down south somewhere. I can't remember what the hell I went down there walking. Somewhere down towards Waterford. Oh, it was years ago. I forget now. But yeah, I have been up Carrauntoohil, yeah. Mark Turner Smith does sort of give you more of a sense of ease owning vehicles rather than financing cars. Just a shame that my daily will never probably be new. GTI owned outright, yes please. Yeah, I know some people like to own their cars, other people like to finance their cars forever. I'm a fan of keeping at least 50% of the car in ownership. So, you know, you stump up at least half the price of the car before you buy the car. So I'm a big fan of that. Pavel Kauzinski says, good afternoon. Masks not help like they didn't in Poland. Okay. I'm still going to wear a mask. Need an efficient car commuting 800 to 1200 kilometers weekly. Buy a big diesel. That's the only thing that's going to work there. It's not going to work in anything else. Barry Loftus, thank you very much. Barry Loftus has submitted some money by PayPal. If you're a new Patreon, I won't get an email just yet, but hopefully you will join me on Patreon, or you can join me here on memberships as well if you want to do that too. We are working away in the background trying to create all kinds of things. We're going to have a meetup this year and a new Zoom call. What time? I'll try and get one in for the end of this month if I can. If not, it'll be early next month. We'll do another Zoom meet up and have a bit of a laugh as well. Ocean Foggy says, you deserve a holiday from the Sunday service. Thanks for an entertaining and informative show. No problem. I will take a week off at some point because I want to do something else on a Sunday other than sit here droning at you lot. Trying to keep you all entertained. Anyway, I'll be back to work soon, so I might actually take a couple of Sundays off in the near future. Reference COVID, it's depressing to see what the USA are still recording new daily highs in their rates. Yeah, but you know, if you do the Trump thing and just don't test, you know, then you won't find out. Adrian says, when I was at school we had a cycling proficiency classes. I don't think they would have them these days. No, they probably wouldn't, in fairness. I remember I think the first bike I ever rode was like a High Nelly, you know, the big High Nelly with the handlebars that came back to you like that, great big thing, an adult version of it. But I was mad into bikes as a kid, so I was BMX centric. I absolutely loved my BMX stuff, went mad for that. Mountain bikes, racing bikes, Kildare Cycle Club, I was a member of that as well. Like, I've done the whole lot, so I was mad into bikes. And then cars came along at 17. Forgot about bikes entirely. Now I cycle and use bikes and things as well. No COVID, stop chilling, get boring, and back now as they will force me to listen to music instead of your live. No, they won't force it. You always headphones here, you're fine. You're always welcome here on a Sunday. Ocean Foggy says, Ireland does not need high-speed trains because it's a small island. The distances are not long enough and the country has very low population density. Fine in countries like France and Germany and Scandinavia. I would say Germany's pretty good because you've got massive centres of cities. You know what I mean? You've got Frankfurt and Dusseldorf and these long distance that are massive areas where huge city life works. So they need high-speed rail between the two. Paris to Berlin, right? So that's a good idea because they're two big cities that would, a lot of tourism, a lot of transport, a lot of people want to go there. Business needs to be done on both ends. We don't have two cities like that. Nobody works in Wexford and works in Dublin that needs massive fast transit to get down there for a business meeting, you know. Wexford is like an hour and a half or 2 hours from Dublin by car. So, like, why would you need a train to cut that down to, 45 or 50 minutes? No, thanks. I hopped forward there a second. Brian O'Donnell says, doesn't Eamon Ryan of the Green Cabbages own a cycle company and drives a VW California camper van with a 2-litre diesel engine, or am I wrong? Don't know if he owns a cycle company, but he certainly does drive some sort of a 9-seater yoke and cycles cycles to school, but he cycles to work every once in a while. He has a 9-seater Caravelle and 30 bikes on White Beam Road. I don't know what that means. I don't know whether he has a cycle business or not. Ocean Froggy says, agree with you, no flying until this thing is gone, a vaccine is rolled out, shut the airport except for vital travel and cargo until COVID-19 is sorted. We don't need air travel. You don't need to go to, look, everything will get back to normal quicker if we just keep the infection rate down. If we open and we all fire off to Spain and Portugal and France and you drag it back with you, we're back to square one. Everything closes down again. Could you not just wait and have your summer holiday next summer? It's only 1 year. It's only one. All you got to do is go on holidays here in Ireland. Go to a campsite, go to a hotel, spend your little money here in Ireland and have a lovely time. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You can get back to your nice little holidays every year. My mother and father, I'd say, went on holidays probably 3 times before my father died in 1985. Because Flying was really expensive back then. I mean, really expensive. The seats were massive and you got fed and everything on a plane, but it was really expensive. So we went on a ferry and we went to England, and we usually went to my mother's sister's house in London. She lives in Kensington, right? And we'd go there and we'd spend 2 weeks with them in their house. So there'd be no bills to pay while we were over there. So the holiday was actually kind of cheap. All you do is get yourself there. But now we go on 3-4 holidays a year. Well, I don't, but people go on 3 or 4 holidays a year and they go, I have to get away. I have to get away for a few days and just enjoy a bit of sun. Will you relax? Like, it's a global pandemic. Once every 100 years we do this. Chill out. You're going to miss one holiday. Whatever. Eric Watson, whatever about electric and reliability, Citroen knew how to design cars. God, yes. Citroen had some fantastic cars. That would be the smoothest car chase in history for Bert. It's true, yeah. Ocean Froggy says, cheers Bob, go and play Scale Electrics. Mini Eggs, have you watched Deliverance with Burt Reynolds and the Julian Banjos? It's one of my favourite films of all time. I love that kind of movie. I actually kind of like Burt Reynolds over the years. He's a real sort of a, not just a man's man, but a sort of an aspirational, funny character, great sense of humour. I love the outtakes and things like Cannonball Run and stuff. It makes me laugh every time. Footy Ferrari says, Bob, would you say that Ireland has the most expensive cars in Europe because of that effing VRT? Yes, we do. If you ever go anywhere else in Europe and look at the price of cars there, we have by far and away the most expensive cars. But even if we don't, even if you look at ones that are the same price, we get a lower spec anyway. So it's either the most expensive or it's the lowest spec version of it we get, one or the other. Dave Hall, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining. Marty O, hi, only home now. Sorry I'm late. Had to go for lunch in Mammy's. Oh, lunch at Mammy. That must have been fun. Make the most of it. Mammies are very precious things. I don't have one no more. 2013 she died. I was at the grave the other day, Father's Day. Went up to see the father and mother at the same grave. And realised it was 2013 since she died. Like, it seems such like last year or something, but it was, time flies. Dave Hall, hi Bob, would you personally go for a Nissan Qashqai diesel or the VW 2-litre diesel Tiguan? Tiguan. Qashqai seems very old. It feels like it was made 5 years ago when you get into it now. And I don't know why I can't quite work it out. But you get in and you go, why does this feel so old fashioned? I think it's just a Japanese thing. I'm not sure what it is now, but Tiguan's a beautiful car to drive and looks well, and you'll be very happy driving around it. You know, you'll feel good driving around it. Bob, any tips on buying a left-hand drive? Oh, you asked me that already. Finance one. Suzuki Jimny. You asked me that already. John Gerrard, hi Bob, what do you think of the Peugeot 508 1.5 diesel? Thinking of buying one. Looks great. I have no problem with Peugeot reliability or otherwise. I think they're a nice car, but I do have a problem with that small steering wheel and the full touchscreen inside. It's just this thing that spoils it. It just spoils it. I sit in and I go, geez, the steering wheel is so small. It never gets any bigger. And you sit in a motorway and you're constantly touching the steering wheel. The whole time you're always sawing at it, trying to put it into the lane, because the steering wheel is so sensitive all of the time that it just drives me mental. So I would, as much as I love the look of the car, I think it's one of the best looking cars on the road, it just drives me mad that they have the small steering wheel in it. That would be my biggest problem with the Peugeot 508. Not the diesel engines or anything, they're all okay. Just the 508, the small steering wheel, drives me up the wall. The Hairy Badger, 4 dislikes, all Eamon Ryan's family. Is there? I don't know. It could be, yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. Noel Griffiths is a great show again, thank you very much. Where else were we? Philip Gunn, Suzuki Jimny mid-spec, available in Estepona, Spain, on the showroom floor, 22,500. Buy it, because they're not making any more of them. The last ones are in the UK and gone. Byron says, buy a left-hand drive in Netherlands, cheapest they say. So they say, yeah. So I don't know, but you still have to pay VRT though when you bring it into the country. Warren says, thanks Bob. I was looking at a Passat, but it was a 1.5 TSI petrol, and it was a lot cheaper than hybrid, and you think he said a new model out soon. Wait for Superb, maybe for a look. Wait. I still think there's so many cars in development right now. They've all been paused by COVID-19. And we'll see them coming out towards the end of this year, but we won't see them in any great numbers until the middle of next year. You know, it'll be that time where we start to see them coming out. So I would still hang on at the moment, try and get the best car you could. Mike Conroy says it was a clapping icon for a show. I wanted to know your opinion on a Fisker Ocean. I haven't driven a Fisker or anything, to be honest with you. I've seen them, they look nice, but I haven't driven them. Most electric cars drive crap in comparison to petrol diesel cars, because most electric cars are not made by car companies. You know what I mean? Fisker, Tesla, they all kind of drive a bit weird. Even like Kia e-Souls and Hyundai Ioniqs and stuff, they don't really drive well, because you got this kind of 4-wheel drive thing or 2-wheel drive thing, and it's on, it's off, it's full torque or no torque, and it's kind of weird to drive electric cars in comparison to a petrol and diesel car. So it's a bit odd. Anyway, that has brought us to the end. It is now 4:15. We've run 15 minutes over. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. Next videos coming out on the channel will be the Renault Zoe will be next. I'm also going to film, if I can squeeze it in, that Renault Captures out the door as well. I'm going to be filming 2 cars tomorrow. I'm going to get the roof fixed tomorrow as well. But I'm going to film 2 cars tomorrow. And I'm hoping we're going to get a lot more cars in. Over the next few weeks, there's going to be 2 or 3 cars filmed nearly every week, because there's so many things to catch up on. It's going to be a bit of crack. Annie McPhee wants to do a challenge for me. A vid on an EV challenge, southernmost to Northern Ireland most point of Ireland, starting on 100% charge, using no pre-planning other than onboard charge, nav and mobile app tech. The only one I'd even attempt to try that in would be something like a Model 3. Because it would work it out for you very quickly, whereas a lot of the other ones just have a sat nav that has the charge points nearby the whole time. So I'd like to do that in a Model 3 for sure. But anyway, John Raff says, don't leave, I just got here. We've been here for 2 hours and 14 minutes at this stage, man. It's been a long run. It's been great crack though. I've enjoyed today. It's been good crack. I know the Burt Reynolds thing in the middle of it caused the thing to go, oh, this should have to be demonetized, but that's alright. It's okay, because you guys support the channel. That's where it all comes from, and the support has been really useful. Thank you very much. Please keep up with me on social media if you want to keep in touch. Twitter is where I'm probably lots of active, but I don't do a lot of car stuff there. Some political things, don't expect that sort of stuff. Facebook I drop in and out of every once in a while, but usually into the Sunday service thing. I am on Parler thingamajig. I created an account there more to hold the name of the account than to take part in the thing, but just more to hold it, because I get impersonated quite a bit on things that I don't do. So it's been great crack though. Thank you very much for joining. Please look after your mental health for the next week. I know some of you have to go back to work, and it's going to be a struggle now. Get yourself out of bed every day to go to work, and you're not working from home. If you can work from home, do so. Wear a mask in public if you can. Wear a mask, it keeps you safe. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you very much for joining me again today. And until the next time, I will see you on the far side.